afternoon's OHL Game of the Week is brought to you by Molson, bringing you the finest in hockey broadcasting for over 25 years. And by Burger King, home of the Whopper. Aren't you hungry for a Burger King now? And by Esso. You make us better. Esso. This afternoon, live from the Sport Complex in Belleville, it's the Ottawa 67's and the Belleville Bulls. Hello again, everyone. I'm Mike Anscombe, and welcome to today's OHL Game of the Week between the Ottawa 67's and the Belleville Bulls. The Ottawa 67's are number 2 in the Leyden Division. They are number 3 in the overall standings, behind the Kitchener Rangers and the Toronto Marlies. Now, they have great balance, great depth, and quite likely the most potent power play in the league. The Belleville Bulls got off to a very slow start, but they have been on something of a roll since Christmas, having lost only 3 of their last 12 games. This is the 3rd season since the Belleville Bulls joined the OHL, and their only coach, their original coach, is Larry Mavaty, a native of Belleville. Larry, the obvious question is, what has happened to the Bulls of January and February as compared to those that got off to a very, very weak start in October?
Well, at the start of the year, we were carrying 23, 24 guys. They didn't play that well. We had to make some trades, and then the guys got together after we made the trades, and since then they've played as a team.
The Bulls kind of reflect your playing personality. They are aggressive, they are hard-hitting, and yet I'm sure this afternoon, given the high regard you have for the 67's power play, you can't afford cheap penalties.
No, we took some last night, and it cost us. And against Ottawa, they have, in my mind, the best power play in the league. And but I don't think we're really going to change our style, because once we try and do that, it's going to take away from our game.
What about the effects of this big rink on a skating club like the 67's?
Well, for the defense, I think it's going to help. But we've been here for 3 months now, and all the guys have been together, so it should be a pretty good hockey game.
All right, and Al Frady, who is a member of the U.S. Olympic team, is expected to join the Bulls after the Olympics?
Definitely. He signed a playing card with us, and we've been talking to him during the year, and he definitely says he'll be here on the 22nd when we play Oshawa. So when the 22nd comes, we're going to see.
You're keeping your fingers crossed.
Definitely are.
All right, Larry Mavaty, coach of the Belleville Bulls. Now let's go upstairs to Jim Hughson and Gary Green.
Gary, well, a lot of the talk in the OHL this season has been to do with the Toronto Marlboros and the Kitchener Rangers. Some people, I think, have forgotten the Ottawa 67's. They're creeping up ever so slowly on the leaders, and, well, I don't think you can ever forget a team that's coached and run by Brian Kilray.
Well, that you can't, Jim. Right now, they're knocking on the Toronto Marlies' door, and I don't think it's going to be too long before they're going to be there, maybe even this weekend. One thing about Brian Kilray's teams always, that they've always been competitive right from the time he's come into junior hockey. I remember back in the years when I was in the league, he had a team comprised of guys like Dougie Wilson. He had a forward line, I think maybe one of the finest forward lines in all of junior hockey, with Payne, Higgins, and Smith. What a line that was. I know one thing, Brian Kilray knows how to get along with people, knows how to get the most out of his hockey players. I think he can make a fairly, just an average hockey player into a great hockey player. I know another thing, the players love playing for him.
Okay, let's pick out a couple of players out of the Ottawa lineup. If you were going to zero in on a couple of players as a coach that you would pay attention to more closely than anyone else, who might it be?
I'd take a look at that defense, and when you've got Cassidy and Shaw way up leading their team practically and scoring the way those two guys are, they may be small, but boy, they are pretty talented players. Creighton, I think that this young man, as Scotty Bowman thinks, is just one heck of a hockey player.
We'll look forward to seeing the Ottawa 67's and the Belleville Bulls coming up, but right now let's rejoin Mike Anscombe.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. As we pointed out, this is the 3rd season the Belleville Bulls have been in the Ontario Hockey League. They happen to have the most publicized executive in all of hockey. Their president is Wayne Gretzky. Now, both teams are coming off bus trips from last night. Both clubs were on the road. The Ottawa 67's defeating Guelph by a score of 6-3, and as you saw, the Belleville Bulls losing to Kingston 7-5 as the Canadians' Kevin Conway scored 6 consecutive goals. We'll see what happens this afternoon when we return with a play-by-play of the first period between the Ottawa 67's and the Belleville Bulls right after these messages.
Gary Green in the broadcast booth at the Quinn Sports Center in Belleville, and it'll be full today. This building holds just over 3,000. Every seat is sold for this game between the Belleville Bulls and the Ottawa 67's, a Leyden Division matchup. One of the things you'll notice immediately in this game is that there's lots of room to move on the ice. This Belleville rink has an Olympic-size ice surface. It is 200 by 100. That means it's the same length as most rinks, but it's 15 feet wider. Gary Green, when you're coaching a hockey team, how do you try and utilize 15 extra feet of space in the width?
Very noticeable out there, isn't it? Well, first of all, in your own end zone, that is where the biggest problem always comes, because defensively, it's a long ways for your defenseman to move from the front of the net area into the corners. You have to really make a difference in your judgment, Jim. Otherwise, you can get caught out of position very easily.
We should point out some of the players you should look for in these lineups this afternoon as we talk about the Belleville Bulls. First of all, a couple of little guys, and I think if I had a hockey team and could put 15 of Dunk McIntyre's and Scott Gardner's in my lineup, I'd be just fine. Dunk McIntyre wears number 15. He's an undrafted 19-year-old. And Scott Gardner is another player like McIntyre, small but very aggressive, very good hockey player, and he'll wear number 22. So look for those fellas. And Darren Ganny, number 2 on defense, will likely see an awful lot of ice time. The leading scorer is Dave McLean, number 9 for the Belleville Bulls, and he's quite a sniper off the right side. For the Ottawa 67's, look for Adam Creighton, number 11, a Buffalo Sabre draft pick who spent some time with the Sabres this season. He's 6'6", 210 pounds, so you won't be able to miss Adam Creighton, number 11. He's a centerman. Look for him today. And as Gary mentioned in the opening, a couple of defensemen, number 6, Bruce Cassidy, and number 4, Brad Shaw, will see the majority of the ice time on defense today. There for the Ottawa 67's, warming up in goal is Darren Pang as he gets things set. Darren will be the starter for the 67's today. And the Belleville Bulls are just making their entrance onto the ice surface here at the Quinn Sports Center. They average about 2,500 in this building over the course of a season, drawing from a city with a population of 35,000. That's not bad. They love their hockey. In Kingston last night, where the Bulls lost 7-5, there were 700 people from Belleville down to watch the game in nearby Kingston.
This has always been a strong hockey town, Jim. I can remember the days when I was coaching in Peterborough, used to come down here to watch their junior B team, and in their older building, they just used to pack them to the rafters.
There's Joe Mandione. He'll be the starter in goal for the Belleville Bulls today. As the starters get set to line up on the blue line, the rest of the players make their way to their respective benches. The officials line up at center ice. The referee today will be Ken Miller. His linesmen will be Bill Beattie and Randy Lambert. And we'll have the Belleville Bulls and the Ottawa 67's after our national anthem.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
And the Ottawa 67's in the OHL Game of the Week with Ken Miller, the referee, Bill Beattie, and Randy Lambert, the linesman. Starting in goal, as we mentioned, for the Ottawa 67's, 19-year-old Darren Pang. He's from Nepean, played Tier 2 in that city last year, played in Belleville and Ottawa, so he's familiar with this building. Darren Pang, the goaltender. And at the other end, Joe Mandione, a 20-year-old from Hamilton, a Boston draft pick in 1981, starting in goal today for the Belleville Bulls. Adam Creighton starts at center for the 67's. Don McLaren and Gary Roberts are his wingers against Dunk McIntyre, with Brian Martin and Mario Martini on the wing. Don McLellan is number 15 for the 67's, moving the puck to the Bulls line. Gary Roberts has the puck. Gets by a defenseman, shoots. Mattione kicks it out, and the Bulls get a hold of the rebound. Starting up is number 11, Brian Martin, into McIntyre, his centering pass. And Gary Roberts tries to clear it off the boards, can't do it. 67's trying to clear it out of their own zone in the early going of this hockey game, and Don McLellan does so. Adam Creighton can't handle the puck at center ice. Number 12 is Jim Andanoff for the Belleville Bulls, dumping the puck into the Ottawa zone, and Brad Shaw, the captain of the 67's, moves it back out. The Bulls moving in offside. No score in the first minute of play from Belleville.
Watch this 67's team today. Brian Kilray likes his teams to be skating teams. When you watch them in practice, they're not up and down their wings, more or less checking their wingers. He doesn't concentrate on the big, heavy hits along the boards or in the corners, but it's a free-flow system.
Belleville's leading scorer and probably their best line on the ice right now is Craig Cox, number 24. Breaks for the Ottawa net, couldn't do it. His right winger is Dave McLean, and he is the leading scorer on the Belleville Bulls. The other winger is Mike Savage. Back the other way are the Ottawa 67's. And they have a line of McKinnon, Roy, and Patterson on the ice. Here's McLean with a shot, kicked out by Darren Pang. Dave McLean, number 9, with the puck. Holds onto it, dumps it into the corner. Craig Cox goes after it. Goes in front, Cox with a shot. It bounces in front of the goal. Cox had some room to move out there. The Bulls keep the puck in from the line. That was Mike Bellucci shooting it in. Centering pass goes right across the goal mouth. No score in the early going between Ottawa and Belleville, Leyden Division rivals. Bellucci from the point with a shot that Darren Pang kicks to the corner. Cassidy bumps in there with Mike Savage. And the puck is tied up on the boards for a face-off in the Ottawa zone.
We told you to watch closely today to one person in particular. That's number 6, Bruce Cassidy. He was Chicago's first-round draft pick last year. He's a lot like Dougie Crossman. Moves the puck well. Needs to brush up on his defense a little bit more. Kilray said he should play one more year junior hockey.
Had 111 points last year and was Rookie of the Year in the OHL, Bruce Cassidy. In Ottawa territory, the Bulls have put on the best of the pressure in the first 2 minutes of this hockey game. And now the puck is shot down the ice. And the Ottawa 67's are called for icing.
Well, there's Larry Mavaty. You talk about coaching styles. Just totally the opposite of a Brian Kilray. Mike Anscombe summed it up the best, I think. His teams play like Larry Mavaty played. Tougher, rugged, aggressive style.
Mavaty grew up in this area. Has coached junior Tier 2 before this team moved into the OHL. Here's Richard Adolphi on a 2-on-1 for the 67's. Tried to slip it out in front to Harinovich, and the play was broken up by the defenseman, Andanoff. Now right in front, holding on, is Mattione gets the face-off.
Interesting, Adolphi played here not too long ago. Brian Kilray picked him up. He was trying to center that puck out into the slot area, trying to hit Steve Harinovich, but unable to do so.
Richard Adolphi is an 18-year-old from Rome, New York, that started the season in Belleville. And the 67's had to give up a late draft pick to get a hold of Adolphi. The face-off will be to the right of Joe Mattione, the goaltender for the Bulls. There's no score. We're 2 minutes and 9 seconds into this game. The OHL Game of the Week from Belleville. The Bulls against the Ottawa 67's. I'm Jim Hughson with Gary Green and Mike Anscombe. As the Bulls start out of their own zone. A pass up onto the right wing. Martini couldn't get it. After it is Dunk McIntyre, number 15. Cut off. Centering pass. McIntyre with a shot, and he shot it wide. From the point, Mike Bellucci takes the drive, blocked by Adolphi. Bellucci again, slides it in for McIntyre. He's got Martini out in front. McIntyre, there's the shot, just wide. Off the stick of Brian Martin. And the 67's alleviate some pressure by clearing the puck down the ice. Back come the Bulls very quickly. Lots of room on this big ice surface to move. Martin goes for the front of the net. Martini couldn't center it to him. The 67's come up with the puck. 23 is Roy Malari. After the puck in his own zone is Martini. He clears it out to center ice. And back in from the Ottawa 67's And that was Scott McMichael that dumped his man Scott Hammond of the 67. As the Bulls clear the puck down the ice and are called for icing. 3.5 minutes into the first period. There's no score.
We got a good look there at Doug McIntyre, who Mavaty says is the heart and soul of his hockey team. He's not very big, but yet at 5'8", 164 pounds, he probably plays like a 6-footer.
Grade 13 student at Quinte High School, a 19-year-old from Cornwall, Doug McIntyre. Savage on the right wing lost the puck. McLellan has it for the Ottawa 67s. He dumps it to center. Back forward is Bruce Cassidy, number 6. Off the glass. Kept in at the line, but only momentarily, as Cassidy will lug it out for the 67s. On the wing to McLellan. Into the middle, Roberts with a chance. His shot was blocked by Darren Ganny, number 2. Back on the point, Cassidy shoots just wide, as Manioni came way out of the net to cut down the angle. Adam Creighton, number 11, picks up the puck on the right wing boards. He's checked by Darren Ganny. They tie the puck up in there. Now it comes loose. McLellan on the point. Cassidy for Creighton. Creighton making moves in front. Lost the puck. It's loose and cleared by the Bulls. Not out of the line. Right in front. McLellan shoots. Nice save by Manioni. McLellan's after it. He's bumped to the boards. Gary Roberts gets the puck back to Bruce Cassidy. And the shot is deflected up into the stands for a stop in play.
Couple of good chances by McLellan and by Creighton. There you see McLellan. He actually had that upper top corner going for him. Just couldn't get it up hard enough. He may be one of the hardest workers in this league.
This is Scott Gardner at center, number 22 for the Bulls. He dumps it in. He has Tim Bean and Brian Small with him. Bean centering pass goes out in front of the goal, and it's taken out of harm's way by the 67th. Bill Patterson. Into the middle, there's McKinnon with a shot deflected. Darcy Roy, number 17, puts it back in the point. Slipped into the middle, and the Bulls are able to clear to center. Tim Bean breaking in. Bean shoots. They score!
Well, watch Tim Bean. He is the one that originally makes that rush. You can see in the background, however, Brian Small, I believe it is, he goes head first right into it. But the rebound is there. Small finds that loose puck, but I wonder how his head feels right now, because he ran right into that goalpost.
Small's 14th of the season. Makes it 1-0 Belleville. Ottawa's offside. Bean draws an assist. And Scott McMichael as well.
There's a big, strong checker for you, Steve Hrenovich. Watch him today.
He is the younger brother of Tim Hrenovich. Played in Sudbury and now in the minor leagues with the Pittsburgh Penguins. The goal came at 5:03. Small's 14th from Bean and McMichael. And it's 1-0 Belleville. Moving in is Mario Martini. Tipped and knocked down deep in the Ottawa zone. The 67s move to center. Bill Bennett for Steve Hrenovich. His little back pass is taken away by Ganny. Loose puck at the side of the net is cleared away. Now here's Stump McIntyre, number 15, to center. His pass to Martin. There's a shot over top of the goal. Kept in at the line by Andanoff. Jim Andanoff with a shot. Knocked away from the front of the goal, and Bill Bennett, number 2 for the 67s, takes over. Loses it there. Martini now moves it back into the Ottawa zone. We played 6 minutes and 10 seconds in this first period. The score is 1-0 for Belleville from the Quinte Sports Center. This is your Molson Hockey Telecast. Jim Hughson, Gary Green, and Mike Anscombe back at the Quinte Sports Center in Belleville. 1-0. The Bulls lead on a goal by Brian Small. 6 minutes and 10 seconds into the first period. As the puck is dumped into the Ottawa zone, here is the Chicago draft pick, Cassidy. The other side, the puck is slipped out to center by Bob Giffen, and back in come the Bulls. Mike Savage chases the puck in the corner. He's taken out of the play. McLean from the other side tries to center it. Savage looks around, plays it back the other way. Scott Hammond, number 18, gets it there for the 67's. Ahead for Tim Helmer. Helmer is checked into the boards by Craig Cox, and Cox takes over for the Bulls. Darren Ganny, who's in his draft year, plays it around on the boards, up to center. Cox can't control it. Helmer picked up by the 67's from North Bay. Number 21 is the centerman. His wingers are Steve Simoni. As McLean breaks in, stopped by Darren Pang. McLean stealing the puck and breaking in. Pang made the save. There's a shot from the point from Bellucci, stopped by Darren Pang. From the other side, McMichael is stopped as he moved the puck into the boards, and the 67's come back. 18 is Scott Hammond dumping the puck in, and both teams make changes on the fly. Mike Bellucci up on the boards to Dave McLean. His pass into the middle, and Tim Bean couldn't get a hold of it. Back the other way come the 67's. Gary Roberts dumps it in on the goaltender, Mattioni. The Bulls can't clear it at the line. Kept in by Mike James, and then shot back out. It hopped into the Belleville bench, and play is called.
The Belleville player that set up that first goal, Tim Bean, just a minor midget. He's a pretty tough individual. Here's this shot by McLean. Good opportunity there. Pang stops, and McLean, as he goes the Belleville Bulls.
Of course, this team hurt considerably when they lost Danny Quinn to the Calgary Flames, and that's where McLean really had to take over and pull up the slack, as Quinn was a big scorer here. An icing call against the Bulls. And a push and a shove after the whistle. Both of these teams have been on a pretty good roll in their last 10 games. The 67's are 7-3-0 and are riding a 4-game winning streak. The Bulls 6-4-0 after losing last night.
We take a look at Don McLaren. I mentioned earlier, one of the hardest workers in the OHL. Kilray's really upset about the fact that this guy, he's 21 years of age, he's an overage player. He says he's going to send him to Europe. That way, then maybe the pro scouts will take a look at him when he's 24 years of age. They bring lots of players over from Europe. They're 22, 23, 24 years. Oftentimes ignore, however, the overage players playing in this league.
The Bulls moving out of their own zone. This is Rob Krokock, number 18. Dumps it into the Ottawa zone. Hustling in after it, Tim Bean, but McLaren is back. McLaren spins around on the boards, trying to get away from Scott Gardner. Moves it ahead to Adam Creighton. Creighton, number 11, checked from behind by Scott Gardner, and the Bulls break up the play. Roberts goes for the front of the net. Andanoff clears it on the boards. Mike James able to keep the puck in. Gardner clears to center. Here's a break for Jim Andanoff. Moving in, Deeks, and couldn't get the shot away after he went to his backhand. And the play is called. You're watching the OHL Game of the Week. Play is just underway at center ice. This is Doug McIntyre. With Scott McMichael and over to Mike Bellucci. Played into the Ottawa zone. Roy Malari is back after it, number 23, who moved over from the Cornwall Royals this season. And out comes Phil Patterson, number 20. McKinnon couldn't handle a pass at center ice. The 67's dump it into the Belleville zone. McKinnon with some good forechecking out in front. Patterson couldn't get the shot away. McIntyre back checking, hung him up. 1-0, Belleville leading. Darcy Roy centers it, tipped wide by Phil Patterson, and then he was decked from behind. Roy circles the zone, passes it off to Malari, but it was cleared down the ice by Belleville. Nearing the midway mark, first period, no score as the Bulls are called for icing.
You can see how valuable McIntyre was, the way that he back-checked there. And we take a look here at one of the other players we mentioned. Keep an eye on today, Bradshaw, the quarterback of the Ottawa 67's. Interesting that Kilray's offense is back at his blue line. Whereas Mavaty's offense is spread evenly pretty much through his 3 lines.
There's a shot by Adolphi and a great catch. Great save by Joe Mannioni right off the draw as Adolphi got a drive.
You can bet that Adolphi really wants to play well here today. Watch right from the face-off. You can see Bill Bennett winning that draw. Adolphi just pivots and blasts that puck.
Here come the Bulls to center, dumping the puck in after it is Savage. Just keeps it in on the inboard. Cox goes after it. Bruce Cassidy now. Coming out of his own zone. Cassidy to center. Try to pass for Bill Bennett. Broken up. And the play is called inside that Belleville line, offside against Ottawa.
Dave McLellan, just a natural goal scorer. I mentioned that as he goes, Belleville goes. That is the case, however. When he plays well, this team seems to win. He's one of the faster skaters in this league.
19-year-old from Brantford is McLellan, unsigned by the Hartford Whalers, drafted by the Whalers, but still unsigned. Tim Bean is number 6 in his own zone, plays it to Andanoff, then gets it back. Tim Helmer without the hat, gets it ahead to Hammond. He's got a man in front, Hammond moving in, shot it off the side of the net. A centering pass, Cassidy at the point, his shot deflected wide. Shot from Simone is blocked. Back in the corner, Tim Bean after the puck. Bellucci in there as well, and they'll tie the puck up on the end boards and get a face-off. 9:18 to play in the first period. Belleville leading on a goal by Brian Small, his 14th.
Ottawa putting on a little pressure. This guy here had a broken nose twice this year. Kilray says he leads with his nose. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't put on the brakes. He just goes barreling right in there. It's quite obvious when talking to Brian Kilray that he likes Simone.
Face off to the left of Joe Mannioni. In goal this afternoon for the Belleville Bulls. A full house at the Quiddy Sports Center in Belleville for this game of the week between the 67's and the Bulls. McIntyre beats Creighton on the draw, but Creighton is in after the puck. To McLaren, a sharp-angled shot went through the crease. Millari from the point, his shot is blocked. McIntyre passed into the middle. Brian Martin shoots it, and it was blocked. He had a man open breaking for the net. Darren Ganny was up with him, so there's only one man back as Creighton can't handle a pass at the blue line. And the 67's are called for icing.
Jim, you just mentioned about Darren Ganny being right up there with the offensive play. He was heading for that goal mouth. That is his asset. He is very good offensively. Handles that puck well. Has to become a little bit better defensively, though. This is his draft year.
There's Darren Ganny, 18-year-old from Toronto, born in Australia. Played at St. Mike's before he was drafted by Belleville. In Ottawa territory, shot from the point, and Darren Pang will hold on as Rob Krokock got that shot away, a weak one.
Well, from Nepean, Ontario, that goaltender, Darren Pang, is going to get some work this afternoon. Well, we see one of those familiar mouthpieces. Not meant for chewing on, though. They're meant to stop the piece from being knocked out.
Ganny with a shot. Pang made the save. Martin couldn't get after that rebound. Roy Millari. Number 23 for the 67's, checked in the corner by Brian Martin. Martin comes up with a puck. Back in the point, Ganny with a shot that was deflected. Brad Shaw, the captain of the 67's, moves it ahead for Don McLaren, picked off by Darren Ganny. He's got McIntyre in front, can't center it. Here comes McLaren, he has Roberts with him. Poke check, though, by Brian Martin. 1-0 Belleville, 8:11 to play in the first period as the fans react to Adam Creighton being upset by Rob Krokock. Here's Don McLaren, number 15, ahead for Creighton. Creighton waiting for someone to come up and join him as the 67's are on a line change. Cassidy takes over in his own zone. The other side for Bob Giffen. Giffen with a shot. The rebound. They score! Brian McKinnon ties the game at 1.
Mantione got caught. He here. McKinnon had plenty of net to shoot at. The only thing you got to watch here, though, for is McKinnon seems to be almost out of position at first. Remember, he's a left-hand shot coming down that right-hand side. A little difficult for him to position himself so that he can direct that puck, but he did the job.
McKinnon's 24th goal of the season is 12-19. Ties it up. Giffen will draw an assist. One tie. Belleville and Ottawa, they get some banging and crashing in the corner, and there's going to be a cross-checking call. Called by the referee, Ken Miller. So we'll take this opportunity to take a break from Belleville. This is your Molson Hockey Telecast. In a 1-1 tie, Craig Cox goes to the penalty box. Number 24, here's why.
Well, you'll see that cross-check delivered there on Phil Patterson. This will give the 67's an opportunity on the power play. That's exactly what Belleville was trying to avoid.
The veteran Sean Cassidy will quarterback from the point. McKinnon in there. Darcy Roy in front of the net. Phil Patterson over on the left side. First power play opportunity for the 67's. McKinnon, who just tied it up, back in the point. Shaw takes the shot, deflected. Darcy Roy was dumped in front. Here's Phil Patterson. Back in the point to Brad Shaw. Back to Patterson. His shot was blocked, and the Bulls clear it down the ice. Brad Shaw stops in behind the goal. The Bulls changed up their penalty killers. Gardner and Small on the ice. 67's moving in. McLellan now on the ice after a short break. To Adam Creighton at the side of the goal. Back to Cassidy. There's the shot. Stopped by Manioni, and he gets a hold of it and gets the whistle.
Good shot coming from the point by Cassidy. I'll tell you, Shaw and Cassidy on that power play. Back in the point. No wonder they're so effective. They say Shaw's too small. You'd have a tough time telling Brian Kilray that. He says he can play. Many people think that he's only 5'8" or 5'9". Kilray says he's actually close to 6 foot. He's 172 pounds.
Ian Cassidy on the ice in this power play right now with 1 minute and 6 seconds to go in the Craig Cox penalty. Cassidy keeps the puck in at the line and then gave it away to Dave McLean. The Bulls this season have scored a few times short-handed, but here comes the 67's McLellan's shot. Manioni's got a hold of it. And the Belleville defenseman coming there to clear the front.
Gary Roberts right in front of that net area. Watch it. And watch Roberts' position in front of the net area. He was there looking for the loose rebound. Belleville doing a good job of cleaning the front of the net area. Mavaty wasn't too happy before the game about his defense doing that very effectively. I'm sure that's something they're working on.
Bulls gave up 3 power play goals to Tim Conway and the Kingston Canadians last night in a 7-5 loss. 40 seconds left in the penalty to Craig Cox as the Bulls clear the puck around the boards and down the ice.
Watch for this. When you're killing penalties, that's a real advantage in your own end zone. By the time you're ringing around the boards, difficult for the opposition defenseman to get over and stop it.
That's right, because there's 15 more feet. Here's Adam Creighton. Roberts and McLellan go for the front of the net. Cassidy from the point didn't get much on it. Manioni steers that to the corner. Adam Creighton to Don McLellan. Roberts is in front, being worked over by Krokock. McLellan with a shot, deflected. 12 seconds left in the penalty as Cassidy keeps the puck in. A 1-1 tie, Ottawa and Belleville. McLellan, centering pass. Creighton shoots, Manioni to save. The rebound is picked up by the Bulls and cleared. Dave McLean to center. Cox is out of the penalty box. The 67's are 0 for 1 on the power play this afternoon. Bulls back at full strength. Here's Richard Adolphe, number 22, checked by Krokock as he moves in. After the puck is Tim Bean. He's checked into the boards by Bill Bennett. Scott Gardner, number 22 for the Bulls in his own zone. Lost the puck to Adolphe, then gets it back. Here's Gardner, a hard worker moving up. 2-on-2, he's got Tim Bean with him. Gardner into the middle. Knocked away by Bob Giffen. Back comes Bill Bennett, number 2, to Adolphe. Into the corner, he's checked and knocked away by Mike Bellucci. Some good aggressive checking by Bellucci, the defenseman, number 23. Tim Bean is number 6. Drops it off. Across the ice. There's the shot by Endenoff. Blocked in front. Rebounded. Bean with a backhander was stopped by Pang. Loose puck in front. Cleared away nicely by Bill Bennett. Bellucci on the other side. Endenoff with a shot. Pulled out of the air by Darren Pang. And he holds on for the faceoff. Some good action in the first period. Just over 4 minutes to go. It's tied up. Jim Hughson with Gary Green and Mike Anscombe. You're with the OHL Game of the Week on Global from the Quinte Sports Center in Belleville. All tied up in the first period. 1-1 Ottawa at Belleville. We've had some great end-to-end action. At center, Darren Ganny for the Bulls. Plays the puck to Mike Savage. Savage, number 10 at center, looking for that loose puck. Here's Brad Shaw, number 4 for Ottawa. Onside, over the line. Drops it back. Goes over skating. Then back the other way. Come the Bulls. 3-on-1. Play was broken up nicely by Roy Malari. Malari into the corner against Craig Cox. They bump. Savage is loose out in front of the net. So is Dave McLean, the sniper for the Bulls. As the 67's try and clear it and can't. Darren Ganny from the point to Craig Cox. And it hops outside the line as Scott McMichael couldn't hold the puck in. 3.5 minutes to play first period. We're tied 1-1 as the 67's are called for icing.
Pretty tough putting your finger on who is the #1 line for the Belleville Bulls. They really have got good balance. That line of Cox, Savage, and McLean. You got McLean who can put the puck in the net. Savage, good hard worker out there. I like the Bulls' distribution of their offense and their workers. They've built 3 pretty good solid lines out there.
And it's a credit to this man, Larry Mavaty, who is a pretty good defenseman in the International League with the Port Huron Flags and played some in the Western League in Vancouver and Denver. The shot on Mandione from McLaren held on to. Jim Endenoff, number 12, moves the puck out to center. Dumped in by Mario Martini, and Darren Pang clears it in the corner. Martini is checked by Gary Roberts. Centering pass. Brian Martin is out in front, and now they've got a fight. Mario Martini, and I don't know who he's up against. Gary Roberts. Martini and Roberts of the 67's, and they're in a wrestling match on the boards right now. Well, they're moving the right direction towards the penalty box. No, now they're going back the other way.
I'm not quite sure what started that. Gary Roberts, by the way, has got he was out for 8 weeks with a broken thumb, and he has a pin in that thumb. Brian Kilray says he doesn't pick up, he stays away from magnets with that pin in his thumb.
There's Gary Roberts, and Mario Martini was the player he was involved with, and they'll make their way to the dressing rooms with only 2:58 to play in the first period, and the game tied up 1-1.
Gary Roberts, a very rugged winger out there. He's definitely classified as a future pro.
Let's have a look at how this got started on the boards.
Well, I think some pushing and shoving more than anything. Martini perhaps a little guilty of getting those elbows up first. Takes 2 to fight.
5-minute fighting majors to Martini and Roberts. And that will be the extent of that.
Does this guy tower out there? You mentioned that at the very first of the game. I just can't believe how much taller he is than everyone out there. No wonder the Buffalo Sabres have big plans for him.
6'6". Toronto Tornadoes are probably looking at him too. Adam Creighton. His father, Dave, was an NHLer for 10 seasons. 67's called for icing.
Interesting when you talk about Creighton. Kilray says that he is a better Bobby Smith, and better in the extent that he's even meaner than Bobby Smith. And as a result, he just thinks that he is going to be one fine NHL player. Maybe tries to deke a little bit too much, wants him to shoot.
They'll have to go to catch Bobby Smith's point totals, though. Smith with 192 points one season. That's the most ever by a player in the OHL. The shot on Darren Pang kicked easily to the corner. Mike James around on the boards for Don McLellan. Rink wide for James. James, a pretty good utility man. He's been playing defense most of this period, but now Roberts is off, so James moves up on the left wing with McLellan and Creighton. For 24, Mike James.
James has played every position, center, left wing, right wing, defense. You described him as a utility man. Every team needs one.
Racing after the puck is Bruce Cassidy. Got there before Brian Martin. Kept into the line by Andanoff. Centering pass. Picked away by the Ottawa 67s, and they'll move it out. Mike James into the middle to Don McLellan. Bouncing puck, he couldn't control it. McIntyre and Creighton go to the boards. Maybe the biggest guy and the littlest guy on the ice. And Creighton was knocked down. Here's Cassidy, number 6 for the 67s, with a long shot in on Joe Mantione. A minute and 40 seconds to play in the first period. Belleville 1, Ottawa 1. Mavaty with a shot tipped at the side of the goal. Simone trying to center it for the 67. Scott Hammond takes over, number 18. Brad Shaw from the point. Mantione saw it all the way and kicked it out. Great hit on the boards as Mavaty moved in and decked his man. Here's Bellucci. Mavaty runs into Kent Brimmer for the second time, knocking him down as the bodies start to fly. Just over a minute to play first period, tied 1-1. Been some good hits in this game. Here's Kent Brimmer, number 21 at center. To Hammond. His shot in. 21 Tim Helmer of the 67s against 21 Kent Brimmer. The two 21s. The teams now change up on the fly. Carrying pass to center, handled by Darren Ganny. Into the Ottawa zone. Brad Shaw moves it out with 30 seconds to go in the period. Here's Darren Ganny. Gets it back from McMichael. And dumps it into the Ottawa zone. Now 20 seconds left in the first period in a 1-1 draw. Brad Shaw. Down to the boards to Darcy Roy. The pass was cut off. Craig Cox couldn't do any more than cut it off. Brian Small, number 20. Dumps it in. Cox in after Brad Shaw. Shaw moves it ahead for Darcy Roy, number 17. As the buzzer sounds to end the first period. So Brian Small scored at 5:03 for the Bulls in the first period. The score, Ottawa 1 and Belleville 1.
A great action-packed first period. The Ottawa 67s and the Belleville Bulls in a 1-1 tie. Brian Small for Belleville, and then Brian McKinnon countering for Ottawa. Joining me now is Bruce Cassidy, the high-scoring defenseman with the Ottawa 67s. As a matter of fact, last season as a rookie, Bruce scored 111 points. And Bruce, you're going to exceed that mark this year, it looks like. You have 78 already.
Yeah, I hope I can, you know. Points are nice, but, you know, what really matters this year is to finish first overall, Memorial Cup. But, you know, if I'm scoring points, then we'll probably be winning because, you know, the team with the most goals wins. So
a lot of teams come into this Belleville arena, and their defensemen express some criticism or unhappiness about having to play in a rink where the size is so large. However, as an attack-minded defenseman, I'm sure you're not one of those who complains.
No, I only complain when they're coming down on us because I had some experience over in Sweden this year, and you know what they like to do, and the same in the OHL, is they like to swing guys in behind, and like we saw in the first period, there's 2 breakaways already. And Belleville plays this rink really well, and you know, there'll probably be a few more before the game's over. But offensively, it's great to play in a rink like this because you got, you know, lots of room to you know, move the puck around and skate with it.
It's the defensive aspect of your game that I am sure you would most like to improve, true?
Yes, you know, you're not going to be able to do everything perfect, but, you know, offense is my game, but, you know, you have to learn to play both ways if you want to play pro. So, you know, I'm going to try to improve in junior on my defense, and hopefully it'll come along.
Let's talk about those World Junior Championships in Sweden and what the experience was like for you.
It was great to go over there. The teams we played against, they're all good teams. You know, when I was younger, and you know, I used to see the NHL pros lose to Russia. I'd say, you know, how could they lose to those guys? You know, but you know, they are good, especially the Russians. We had hell of a game against them, 3-all tie, which I think we should have won, but, you know, it was a great experience just playing them.
What is the difference between the Canadian junior and the Soviet junior in your estimation?
Canadian junior is a lot more physical, I would think. The Russians are physical, they're strong, but not as, you know, you don't see the hitting that you do over here. You know, they're strong along the boards, and they're very well conditioned, and they move the puck extremely well. That's their strong points.
It seems to me that, I guess over the past 10 years, since that initial Soviet Team Canada confrontation of 1972, that the Soviets have started to play a more North American style of game. Would you agree with that?
Well, I guess, you know, we are the best hockey players, I think. So
You still do?
yeah, I think so. And so they're going to try to copy our style, I would think. And I guess that's what happened. You know, they play the Canadian way, or they're starting to more and more.
You are an Ottawa native. Sometimes players find it very difficult playing in their hometown. They would rather move to some other area. Was that the case for you?
No, not at all. I don't mind playing at home. If you're playing well and things are going well, it's great. Because, you know, your friends see you, they see you're doing well, and, you know, everything's going well. It's, you know, when you're struggling, that's when it's tough at home, because, you know, your friends, they see you at school, you know, they say, well, you know, what's the matter? And, you know, you're already hearing it from your coach and the rest of the teammates, so that's the one.
You mean Killer gets on you a little bit?
Oh, once in a while.
All right. Bruce Cassidy, just an outstanding prospect, the #1 draft choice of the Chicago Blackhawks, and one of the top players in the Ontario Hockey League. Coming up, an impersonal look at the Calgary Flames' Steve Conroyd, our OHL Game of the Week grad. And the score after the first period of play, the Belleville Bulls won, the Ottawa 67's won.
In 1973, Rick Middleton was the OHL MVP. Blake Dunlop was the leading scorer. Mike Palmatier was the top goaltender. And for the second year in a row, Denis Potvin of the Ottawa 67's was the top defenseman, the only player to win that award twice. The New York Islanders drafted Potvin that year, and he went on to win more awards. The Norris Trophy is the NHL's top defenseman 3 times. Potvin has been an All-Star 6 times, and he's a former Ottawa 67.
Two-way hockey in the opening 20 minutes, and it's a 1-1 tie between the 67's and the Belleville Bulls. Next week, we are going to be in Oshawa, and today we are going to focus on former Oshawa Generals defenseman Steve Conroyd, who is now a member of the Calgary Flames and who is our OHL Grad of the Week.
Calgary Flames Steve Conroyd is at home both on and off the ice. In a time when the rushing defenseman is in vogue, the 6'1", 195-pounder is a pillar in the Flames' defensive picture. However, there are still parts of his game he'd like to improve.
I think I'm inconsistent right now. There's a couple other things I'll mention later, but I think consistency is my biggest problem. I'll play a really good game against a team and maybe even play good for a couple weeks, and then I'll come up with a real stinker just for no reason whatsoever. And I find that with most of the premier defensemen in the National Hockey League, they're consistent game in and game out. And if I can work on that, plus other things like being a little more physical at times, getting my shot on the net, those are things that will come with practice, but consistency is such a tough thing in this game. If I could be known as a consistent defenseman, I'd be really happy. Because I find myself, after I make a mistake, I start second-guessing myself. And I think hockey's a game of sometimes just being stupid on the ice and just reacting to the situation, not pre-planning anything. Because that's when you start second-guessing yourself, and that's when you can get yourself into trouble.
Off the ice, Conroyd bought a new house in Calgary during the summer and finds that when he's not busy with hockey, the majority of his time is spent enjoying his new surroundings.
Unless I'm playing really poorly, I can generally leave that behind. I've got a lot of outside interests, and between watching TV and going to movies and just doing little things around the house, I can normally leave that kind of stuff at the rink and just live my own life at home.
Steve Conroyd has been involved with the Flames since pro hockey came to Calgary in 1980 and is quite content not having as high a profile as some other teammates. Both Conroyd and girlfriend Lorna McDonald are used to life in the spotlights.
for my part, it's not as bad as a Lanny McDonald because I'm not that recognizable. But it is a very knowledgeable hockey town, and I think that's good because, you know, it makes me aware that I have to be producing or else people notice, and it's something that's always in the back of your mind. I like the recognition, and if people tell me that I'm playing bad, you know, that's their opinion. It doesn't really bother me too much. But overall, I think it's better for a hockey player to be playing in a town where hockey is the #1 game, and they're going to be watching each and everything you do.
I think myself that our fans can be good and bad at both times. Sometimes, you know, when the team deserves it, I've thrown in a few boos myself, but other times I've seen it uncalled for. And I think myself around the city, you see a lot of people, and knowing that I'm going out with Steve, they say he had a good game or they had a good game. And I like to be part of it. It's a fun life.
Conroyd was Atlanta's second-round choice in the 1980 entry draft, and towards his final year with the Oshawa Generals of the Ontario Hockey League, he played 4 games with the Flames, and it was the break he needed.
I was extremely lucky my first year. Unfortunately, the Flames weren't playing too well, and that's what got me up here. And Al McNeil, the coach at the time, just spent so much time with me, and I owe a lot to him because I'm still here. And after that season, I played almost 60 games, and I think I got quite a bit of confidence, and that's what helps you.
A Flames regular since '81, Conroyd is now solidly entrenched in the lineup, though he still worries about a possible trade.
It's always in the back of my mind, and it's something that you have to be aware of and you take with a grain of salt. Anything you do, especially like with the purchase of a house, I realized that I could be traded within the week after I bought the place, but that's something to live with. I think the pluses much outweigh the minuses in that respect.
The Flames' Steve Conroyd, at home in Calgary.
Steve also intelligent and articulate, as you just saw. As a matter of fact, in his last season with the Oshawa Generals, while in school, he was an Ontario Scholar, meaning that he averaged over 80% in grade 13, and he was the OHL's Scholastic Player of the Year. Steve Conroyd of the Calgary Flames. Jim and Gary are standing by with their impressions of the first period. The score, Ottawa 1, the Belleville Bulls 1.
Let's have a look at some of the action coming up next week in the Ontario Hockey League. Look for a game in a rink near you. Here's the schedule for tomorrow. Peterborough and Sault Ste. Marie, the Toronto Marlboros playing in Sudbury, also games at Oshawa, North Bay. Cornwall and Kitchener, big game for the Kingston Canadians as they try to get back into a playoff spot. Then the league will break for a couple of days, and the best players in the game will go to Guelph for the All-Star game, the banquet Monday night, in the game on Tuesday in Guelph. On Thursday, regular league action picks up once again. Look for games in Windsor, Brantford, Cornwall, and Guelph. And there's the schedule for Friday in the Ontario Hockey League. Look for the games coming up near you. Now let's update the OHL scoring leaders. Tim Salmon of Kingston assisted on all 6 of Kevin Conway's goals last night and leads the league with 118 points. Conway had a league record tying 6 goals against the Belleville Bulls last night. Presley and Gruel rounding out the top scorers in the Ontario Hockey League. In assists, Tim Salmon, he added 6 to that total last night for 82. Zezel and Gruel round out the top players with assists in the OHL. Jim Hughson and Gary Green back in Belleville right now, where it's a 1-1 tie and a very entertaining game. And one of the things we talked about right off the opening was what the width of this rink might do to teams. And Bruce Cassidy pointed out to Mike Anscombe that it's a bit of a nightmare for defensemen because there's so much ice to cover, and that could be a real hazard.
Jim, I didn't expect to see much of a hitting game today. With this big ice surface, I expect to see much more freewheeling, wide-open style of hockey game. But instead, I thought we've had some better body checks than I've seen in the hockey game in a long time out there. You've got a guy like Mavaty out there for Ottawa 67's was just laying out some crunching body checks. But what it's done, when you make those body checks and when you've got this big ice surface, you really get caught out of position. That's very easy to do on this ice surface, and as a result, you get a lot of breakaways as well. 2-on-1s, they're tough to defend against.
Well, there was a breakaway that set up the first goal for the Belleville Bulls. It was Tim Bean that had the breakaway. Let's have a look at it here.
Well, once again, Bean was the guy that, once he got that puck from McMichael, he did most of the legwork. He got the initial good shot away, but watch, just in the background there, Small's coming in there, and he was ending up He was the guy that got possession of it. That was using your head there, I guess, when he went crashing in the goalpost, but put the puck in the empty net.
Well, the Ottawa 67's, I think, we thought would be more suited to this ice surface because they're such a good skating team, but the Bulls, obviously, this being their home rink, know how to use it pretty well. But I would think that the 67's, especially with the defensemen they have, can really utilize this ice surface.
Well, Larry Mavaty said before the game that really this ice surface is best suited for the Ottawa 67's, not for his team. But they're compensating for that this afternoon by doing a lot of good body checking. They're much meaner in their own end zone than I think they've been playing, and that'll make them happy.
The score after a period is 1-1, Belleville and Ottawa. The highest scorer ever in an Ontario Hockey League season is Bobby Smith. In 1977-78, 69 goals, 123 assists for 192 points. He was the most valuable player not only in the Ontario League but in the country. Minnesota drafted Bobby Smith. He was later traded to the Montreal Canadiens. Smith won the Calder Trophy in 1979 as the Rookie of the Year in the NHL, a former Ottawa 67.
First period summary, you see they're up on the board. Small at the 5:03 mark, and then McKinnon at the 12:19 mark. 1-1 tie coming into the second period. I don't think we can expect anything different to happen in this second period. That first period was a very good, strong hockey game. I am sure both coaches, in between periods, will just encourage their teams to play more of the same. How can you ask for anything more?
A crowd of 3,100 on hand at the Quiddy Sports Center in Belleville. It's a 1-1 tie, and second period about to get underway. We'll remind you that next week, our OHL Game of the Week will come to you from Oshawa, home of the Generals, where they will host the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Terry Crisp and company, and they always have a good team out in the Sault, too. Crispy's done a fine job there.
He really has, and that will be an interesting contest, to say the least. Sue has had a very strong competitive team for a number of years now. Sam McMaster, the general manager up there, fine recruiter of young talent.
The referee here today is Ken Miller. His linesmen are Bill Beattie and Randy Lambert. The goaltenders are Darren Pang for Ottawa and Joe Mandione for the Belleville Bulls. And the second period is about to get underway in a 1-1 tie. Ottawa and Belleville. Martini and Roberts still serving 5-minute fighting majors into this second period. So both teams will have to do a little line juggling. As Darren Ganny lugs the puck in his own zone. And the 67's break up a play but move in offside.
Jim Andanoff made a couple of good body checks. Speaking of body checks in between periods, he has improved 150%. He was a forward last year, and Larry Mavaty has made him into a winger.
Jim's an 18-year-old from Warren, Michigan. New York Ranger draft picks. Puck is dumped into the Ottawa zone. Roy Millary had some great body checks, as Gary pointed out in the first period. Moves it up on the boards. Adam Creighton picks up the puck against Dunk McIntyre, and McIntyre takes Creighton out of the play. The Bulls shoot it back down to the Ottawa line. This is Brad Shaw, number 4. Shaw is a Detroit draft pick, but unsigned, and likely to go back into the draft. Centering pass cleared from in front by Millary. And Don McLellan moves it ahead to Adam Creighton. Creighton on the right side. Passed it off from Mike James, was behind him. James is filling in for Gary Roberts on this line over on the left wing. As the 67's and the Bulls make changes on the move, 1 minute and 10 seconds into the second period. Craig Cox on the left wing for Brian Martin. Couldn't hold on to the puck. Phil Patterson checked from behind by Cox. Mike Bellucci for the Bulls moves the puck to Dave McLean. Runs into Darcy Roy on the boards. Bellucci moving up. 23 Bellucci dumps it in, and Darren Pang scoops it up and plays the puck into the corner to Darcy Roy. Roy is checked by Mike Savage. And Savage ties the puck up on the boards and gets the face-off, so both teams will complete their line changes.
Number 9, Dave McLean. Also also a great penalty killer, mostly because he is such a tremendous threat out there. He'll be our second period intermission guest, right, Hanscom?
McLean was originally drafted by Oshawa. There's an awful lot of players on this Larry Mavaty team that came from other organizations. 5 of these players started their season with different teams. 10 of them were drafted by different OHL teams. So Larry Mavaty has resurrected some junior careers. Darcy Roy, centering pass. McKinnon, who has a goal, couldn't get the shot away. Was alone in front. Here comes Dave McLean. A drop pass. Cox with his shot blocked. Cox trying to center it. McLean got it out front. Darcy Roy with a pass into the middle to Brian McKinnon. McKinnon couldn't hold on to it. Bob Giffen scooped the puck up, but it went up over the boards, and we get a stop and play.
This guy was a walk-on. He came from the West, originally born in Ottawa. You heard Larry Mavaty, Jim, before the game, teasing Brian Kilray, saying, yeah, sure, he was a walk-on. You're out West trying to recruit him, but he's turned into be a pretty good heady hockey player. Lots of ability.
Bob Giffen, number 3. He's on the bench right now as Brad Shaw moves the puck up the ice. The penalties to Roberts and Martini have expired. They're fighting majors, so they'll be able to rejoin their regular line mates. A 1-1 tie, 2.5 minutes into the second period. As Brad Shaw, the captain of the 67's, number 4, moves out to center. His pass for Phil Patterson couldn't hold on to it. Shaw will keep the puck into the Belleville zone, but it hops up over the glass, and the play is called.
You were mentioning Brad Shaw. We were talking about him earlier, best defenseman in the Canadian Junior Championships last year, and Rob Procock.
Rob's a 19-year-old Brantford native. Drafted out of the Brantford Midgets organization to join these Belleville Bulls.
He's got all the tools, Jim. Watch him out there. He's one of the fastest skaters on this team.
Right now, he's down on the ice trying to hold on to Scott Hammond. Hammond takes the puck in behind the goal. Helmer's out in front. Puck comes back to the point, and Brad Shaw couldn't contain it. There's a race for it. Moving after it, Tim Bean. So Darren Pang comes out of the goal, lays the puck around on the boards. Small keeps it in for Tim Bean in the corner, checked by Brad Shaw, and they'll tie it up for a face-off. 16:36 to play second period. We're tied 1-1. There's Brad Shaw.
First best last year, as I just mentioned. Second best defenseman in the Canadian, or in the junior tournament, World Junior Tournament for Canada's team.
3,000 in this building today in a 1-1 tie, and they're looking at a pretty good hockey game. McLaren dumps the puck to center. Dunk McIntyre is there for it. Off the boards to center. 67's James moves back in. Roberts with a shot that's wide. Todd Clark from the point, and that went off a leg and right up into the stands for another stop and play.
That was just a young rookie, big, strong defenseman. I think he's going to be a good one. Just needs a little bit more confidence. It's tough to gain confidence when you're playing behind Shaw and Cassidy on this team.
Todd Clark, he's not eligible for the draft until 1985. Here's Adam Creighton for the 67's over the line. Gary Roberts now. His shot is blocked. Turned back the other way. Mario Martini's pass goes deep into the Ottawa zone. Clark gets the puck out to center. Here's Don McLaren moving in. He's got Creighton going for the front of the net. So is Roberts. McLaren gets the puck. Centering pass knocked away by Dunk McIntyre. Creighton checked again by Dunk McIntyre, and he'll try and tie it up on the boards. Now they move it along the boards. Creighton in after it. Bellucci trying to hold it in there. Finally, they get the stop in play. No scoring here in the second period. We're 4.5 minutes in. It's still tied up from Belleville.
Larry Mavaty giving some instructions to his team. This guy is a disciplinarian. You do it his way or no way.
his team in a 1-1 tie with the Ottawa 67's. You're with the OHL Game of the Week. I'm Jim Hughson with Gary Green and Mike Anscombe from the Quinn Sports Center in Belleville. In after the puck is Craig Cox of the Belleville Bulls. On the boards for Dave McLellan. He moves the puck to center. Phil Patterson to Bruce Cassidy and out to center. Darren dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone. And it's cleared again to center by Cassidy. The Bulls are offside with 14:51 to play in the second period, tied up 1-1.
Interesting, when we were talking about Mavaty and his disciplinarian style, that's probably a lot of reasons why he's been able to resurrect some junior players that other teams did not want or didn't feel they could play. I think he's taken them and forced them to do things that he believes they can do, but yet perhaps some of them didn't have the confidence to do it.
Scott McMichael is number 25, deep in his own zone, starting out now for the Bulls. Cut off by McKinnon. Puck bounced away from him. Tim Bean, number 6, set up the only Belleville goal, dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone. Cassidy is back for it. On the boards for Patterson. Chases the puck to center, 3-on-2, the 67's to center. McKinnon in front to Darcy Roy. Back for McKinnon, maybe he should have shot. Puck was blocked by McMichael. Back comes Tim Bean, ahead for Brian Small, and Small dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone. Bob Gifford, as the Bulls make line changes, moves it ahead for Phil Patterson. His long shot is gloved by Joe Mantione. Quickly out of his own zone, Darren Ganny. His pass cut off at center by Brad Shaw. Good anticipation. There's an awful lot of rink, 15 more feet in width here, so if you're going to go rink wide, you've got to make it a crisp pass, or somebody will have lots of time to step in and pick it off, as Brad Shaw did. Scott Gardner, deep in his own zone, trying to tie up the puck, and does so, getting the face-off. You're watching the OHL Game of the Week. A pair of Bryans, a Small and McKinnon, swapped goals in the first period. Ottawa and Belleville tied 1-1 in the OHL Game of the Week from Belleville. They have a false start and a face-off again coming up to the right of goaltender Joe Mantione. Off the draw, Brad Shaw from the point. His shot over top of the net. Bouncing puck, and Steve Harinovich couldn't get it. Cleared to center. Brad Shaw dumps the puck back into the Belleville zone, where it has been for most of this second period. Mario Martini with a pass to center ice. Brian Martin's shot bounces into the Ottawa zone. Milari is checked to the boards by Martini. Bill Bennett, little guy, number 2, moves the puck on the board. Bulls keep it in. Ganny for Dunk McIntyre. Centering pass. Loose to the side of the net. Kept out by the 67's. And I don't know how. Still 1-1. Lots of action around Darren Pang, and the first time he's been tested here in the second period. We're 7.5 minutes into it. Tied 1-1. Brad Shaw's pass for Adolphi goes too far. McIntyre for Martini, and Mario dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone.
That McIntyre has amazed me out there so far in the first period, and then again in the second. He just never seems to quit. He's a tireless worker.
Scott McMichael in his own zone gets the benefit of a bounce, and the puck goes to Dave McLean. McLean checked by Don McLaren. Gary Roberts in his own zone as the 67 start out. Adam Creighton bumped at center by Scott McMichael. Here's Don McLaren, the 67's leading scorer, in over the line. Centering pass, Roberts shoots and scores! 2-1 Ottawa. Gary Roberts gets the goal.
Roberts really picked the spot on this one. Take a look. You can see Creighton in the background there. But that pass coming right out into the slot area found Roberts all alone, uncovered. Good pass here by McLaren. I'll tell you, I can see what Kilray means by saying that McLaren surely can play someplace in pro hockey, leading their team in scoring. Set up Roberts beautifully on that one.
Roberts 15 from McLaren at 8:02 makes it 2-1 Ottawa. The 67's lead for the first time in this game. In comes Scott Gardner of the Bulls. Gardner stopped by Pang. The rebound. He stops that one too, and the Bulls very nearly tie it up as the puck goes out of play.
Well, it was Brian Small actually that had the best chance. Small and Bean one more time. But watch this one. Gardner right in there. But Small, he was the one that found the puck. And then Bean, number of good opportunities, but Pang just stoned them all.
He came in one after the other like it was a shooting drill. The last two couldn't get it up over the outstretched Darren Pang.
Well, you used to do that shooting drill in junior and also in the pros where you lay a puck in front of a goaltender, make him go down, stack his pads along the goal crease, have your forwards come in and try to pick the top corners, ring that puck right up. You'd be surprised how many players, even in the National League, can't do that.
11:45 to play second period, 2-1 Ottawa. This is the fourth meeting of the season between these teams, and the 67's have won the first three. Most recently, last Sunday night, a 3-1 victory in Ottawa. Jim Andenoff in behind his own goal, moves the puck up on the boards. Bob Giffen keeps it in for Ottawa, and then it's knocked right out again by Andenoff. Giffen's pass, cut off. And the puck is tied up on the boards by Andenoff, and they'll get a face-off in the Ottawa zone.
Well, Scott Gardner was one of those Bulls that had a good opportunity in on Pang. He's an interesting case. He was originally here with Belleville Bulls, and they traded him to Windsor, and then they got him back through a waiver draft. Windsor kind of gave up on him because he had a bad knee injury, and as a result, he's back in a Bulls uniform and playing well.
Bouncing puck in the Ottawa zone. Scott Hammond, number 18 for the 67's, trying to carry it out. Does get it out to center, but play is broken up, and it's shot right back into the Ottawa zone. Roy Malari. He's banged by the Bulls player deep in his own zone. Bryant Martin hit Malari. Now an elbowing call as Ken Miller, the referee, has only called one minor penalty. This is the second, and there's an Ottawa player down on the ice and hurt on the play. I believe it's Scott Hammond who was hit in the corner, and Scott McMichael will go to the penalty box for elbowing.
McMichael's a big, tough, rugged guy. I'll tell you, he's laid out a few big body checks. Look at this one. A little butt end and elbow into that one.
Ottawa goes on the power play from the Quinte Sports Center. This is your Molson hockey telecast.
We've talked about some big body checks in this game so far. Look at this one. Brian Martin really leveling Malari.
Right off the face-off on a weak-looking shot from the point. The 67 score and make it 3-1. A power play goal. And it comes just 4 seconds into the power play. I believe it was Cassidy's shot from the point, and Creighton may have tipped it. But it makes it a 3-1 game. Ottawa scoring on the power play, and they didn't waste any time at all.
That power play for the 67's is dangerous. Belleville can't take penalties in this game this afternoon and expect to win it.
4 seconds into a power play, a shot from the point gets by Joe Maniotti. Cassidy gets the goal. Roberts in after a puck and shoots it wide. Roberts and Creighton draw assists on the goal by Cassidy, so Creighton obviously didn't touch it. Right off the draw. Cassidy from Roberts and Creighton at 9:13 on the power play to make it 3-1 for the Ottawa 67's. For Cassidy, his 22nd goal of the season.
Costly penalty by Belleville.
Three to 1 now, 10:21 to play in the second period. There is Bruce Cassidy.
Fisher Park High School, grade 13. Very smart student, apparently. His hometown is Ottawa. Nice to play in your own hometown.
Here is Cassidy carrying the puck. To Phil Patterson. Dumps into the middle at center. Back Back the other way come the Bulls. Dave McLean to the line. Brian McKinnon breaks up the play. McKinnon has a goal in the game, and he dumps the puck into the Belleville zone and chases in after it. Mike Bellucci, number 23 for the Bulls, moves it back the other way. Out to center, Craig Cox is checked by Cassidy, and that enables Patterson to get the puck. There's two Pattersons on this Ottawa team. The other one, Mark, is up with the Hartford Whalers on emergency recall right now, leaving Phil as the only Patterson in the lineup. They are, however, not related. And here is Phil Patterson. Bob Giffen now starts out. Throws a pass into the middle that is taken away by the 67's. Knocked down was Mike Bellucci, the Bulls rather. Darcy Roy dumps the puck into the Belleville zone. Patterson there for it, throws it to an open wing. Cassidy decides he won't chase in after it. Doesn't want to get caught deep. 9 minutes to play, second period. 3-1 Ottawa leading. 2 goals they've scored here in the second period. Gary Roberts 15th and Bruce Cassidy's 22nd on the power play. 2-on-2, here come the Bulls. Craig Cox into Mike Savage. The pass was too far, and Malari takes Savage out of the play. Handed off to McLean, trying to slip it in front of the Ottawa goal. Couldn't. From the point, Craig Cox into Dave McLean. Pass comes back to Cox. His shot deflected at the side of the net, and Darren Pang holds on.
Belleville putting on some pressure right now, Jim. Pang getting some opportunities here to show that he can stop pucks as well. Big shot coming from the point by Cox. There you see right in front of the net area trying to jam that puck in was Andinoff.
Actually went off his skate. The first shot might have gone wide had it not hit Andinoff's skate.
Cassidy right there, however, to make sure that once Pang got that glove on the puck, that Andinoff didn't have another chance to whack away at it.
I've been pretty impressed with Jim Andinoff today. He likes to move up, get involved in the play. Good offensive defenseman. Here's a pass for Gary Roberts on the left wing. Shoots it. Mattione makes the save and holds on. So Ottawa has scored 2 times here in the second period. Roberts and Cassidy have given the 67's a 2-goal lead. Belleville goaltender Joe Mandione looks on as the faceoff is to his right. Ottawa leading 3-1. You're with the OHL game of the week as Adam Creighton moves in front of the Belleville net. Can't shoot it. McLellan does and gets it wide. And the play is called as the puck was up on the back of the net, and that's, I believe, why Ken Miller called it. It sends the faceoff outside of the blue line.
Creighton and McLellan work very well together out there. Creighton good on draws. McLellan just zipping that puck. Great speed.
Hasn't been a lot of line matching today, but Larry Mavaty has pretty well kept this line centered by Dunk McIntyre against the line of Adam Creighton. Here's Creighton, number 11. Brian Martin is on him right away. Creighton turned around, passes it to McLellan. McLellan to Creighton. Creighton moving in front. Holds on. Now he shoots, and Mandione makes the save.
Mantione. He followed Creighton all the way around in front of the net area. Watch here. Creighton's got possession of the puck, but watch how Mantione, he doesn't go down, he doesn't commit himself, he just stands up all the way, waits for Creighton to let go of that shot and snaps it.
Mantione, a 20-year-old from Hamilton. And now playing in his 4th Ontario Hockey League season. Giffen from the point off the faceoff, moves it in. Helmer tried to center it, couldn't. He's checked. Mike James into the boards, can't control it as the puck is shot down the ice. The race for it. Scott Gardner in after it. Gardner gets there first. No icing on the play. Loose puck bounces in front of the goal. Will Pang keep it out? Now it's cleared to the side. Gardner back in the point. Bellucci with a shot. Stopped in front. Scott Gardner gets a hold of it. Moves around, trying to get it back to the point, taken away by the 67's, and they come out 3-on-2. On the left side, Mike James can't control a pass from Simone. Mike Bellucci. It's the puck ahead to Tim Bean, number 6. And he dumps it into the Ottawa zone. 7 minutes to play second period. Ottawa leading Belleville 3-1. Here's Tim Helmer, number 21. He has James open on the left wing. Helmer shoots it. Kicked out by Mattioni. Scott Gardner dumps the puck down the ice. He wants to get to the bench on a line change, and the puck was knocked out of the air by a high stick, so he'll get his wish and stop in play.
Bob Giffen. He's the player we said is from the West. Maybe needs a little bit more confidence. Watch back here in the Ottawa 67's end zone. Some good stop-and-go action, but there's some more of those body checks. Not one, but two.
Take the man. You got to be a good open ice hitter in this rink because there's lots of ice.
Do you ever?
In his own zone is Mike Savage, number 10, holding the puck with Phil Patterson to get a face-off.
The thing about this ice surface is when you make the hit, you've got to jump back into the play quickly. You can't stand around there and gossip with the guy after you've made the hit and tell him what a good hit it was. Otherwise, you're going to get caught totally out of position. Difficult for defensemen in this rink as well to stand up and try to play the man.
It's Roy Malari sitting on the Ottawa bench. He's been one of the best hitters in this game today. His team, the Ottawa 67's, leading Belleville 3-1. The 67's trying to move closer to the Toronto Marlies in the Leighton division.
Would one of the owners of this team, Wayne Gretzky, have a heyday at this big ice surface?
You bet. He'd like it here. I think he'd like the work ethic on this team if he's the Belleville Bulls. Here's Brian McKinnon. He's got Darcy Roy out in front. Phil Patterson tried to one-time it, but it was taken away by Mario Martini. Dumped into the Ottawa zone. Malari is back after it. Checked into the boards by Martini. McIntyre comes in as well, and they'll hold it for a face-off deep in the Ottawa zone. On home ice, the Belleville Bulls this season have a record of 15 wins, 9 losses, and no ties. Ottawa playing on the road about the same. 15-8-0 away from home. 3,000 in here today. It's great to see them responding to the call and supporting junior hockey the way they do. Full house in Belleville.
It's great to see a full building here for junior hockey of all ages, small kids right to the elderly, out here cheering for their Bulls.
Some direction to move it back in the face-off circle. Off the draw. Here's Jim Andenoff with his shot. Kicked out by Darren Pang. From the other side, Krokok's shot. And the rebound is knocked wide by Martini. Bob Giffen around on the boards for Rich Adolphi. Adolphi knocks his man Krokok down. Krokok will get a chance to dump the puck in to the Ottawa zone. Giffen checked by Martini. Centering pass didn't quite get through to Doug McIntyre. After the puck is Brian Martin. Turns, passes it off, intended for McIntyre. Scooped up though by Giffen. Can't clear it, kept in by Krokok. Martin in the corner, blasted it out in front of the net. Andenoff shoots. McIntyre turned and got a weak shot away. Here's Brian Martin. Tried to get it back on the point. Giffen intercepted and shot it down the ice. And icing is called against the 67's with 5:12 to play second period. Ottawa leading 3-1.
Jim, you mentioned how you liked Jim Andenoff out there today for the Bulls. I have as well, and if he improves next year like he's apparently improved this year, I think he's got a good chance of playing pro. He's turned out to be a pretty good two-way defenseman. Forward last year.
He's out of a great
playing defense this year.
Out of a great midget organization called Detroit CompuWare, as Darren Pang holds onto it. That's where Mike Bellucci played, and that's where Al Iafrate played midget as well. And Iafrate, who is a great defenseman with the American Olympic team, is scheduled to join the Belleville Bulls on the 22nd of this month after the Olympics. And won't he look good in a Belleville uniform?
He sure will. Darren Pang here, been really impressed with him this afternoon. He just stands up, challenges the shooters, just seems to want those shots.
Scott Gardner, back on the point. McMichael dumps the puck in. Belleville trying to put on some pressure here. They're down 3-1 in the late stages of the second period. McLellan to Adam Creighton. Roberts going down the left side with him. Creighton makes a nice move, goes into the middle, and it's scooped away. Shot out by Scott Gardner. Creighton is pretty sharp with the puck, isn't he? Here's Gary Roberts, number 10. He has McLellan and Creighton with him. Creighton goes after the puck, trying to center it can against Scott Gardner. Roberts gets it. Tries to poke it out in front. He got a shot away, and Mandione made the save. A bouncing puck to center. Pang out of his net. Clears it. And I believe there's going to be an interference call against Brad Shaw, or a holding call, as Tim Bean was hauled down. So the Belleville Bulls will go on a power play, and they need a goal here. They're down by 2. Brad Shaw, the captain of the 67's, gets a holding penalty at 15:46. Here it is.
Watch closely there, just to the left of your screen. You can see him holding. He pulled down Tim Bean.
So our first look at the Belleville power play. They haven't had an opportunity to work today. They could use an opportunity or use a power play goal here. Darren Ganny setting up around that Ottawa box. Again, it makes it tough for the penalty killers. There's so much room to move that puck around the outside with the extra 15 feet of width at this rink. And the Bulls moving around nicely, trying to get it in front. Loose there and shot wide as McLean couldn't get it up in the air and lift it over Darren Pang. Here's Craig Cox, number 24. Darren Ganny fakes, plays it to Cox. Cox is poke-checked and the puck is cleared with 3.5 minutes to go, second period.
Dave McLean with a good scoring opportunity. That's one of the first times I've seen Pang go down all afternoon.
Here's McLean, number 9, into the middle to Craig Cox. Skates up the ice, some great back-checking by Darcy Roy. Took the puck away from Cox. The 67's change up their penalty-killing unit. Less than a minute to go in the penalty against Brad Shaw of Ottawa. 3-1 Ottawa leading Belleville. The Bulls come out of the power play. McLean. Cox goes for the middle. Pass is deflected outside the line. Doug McIntyre, a centerman, plays back on the point on the power play, along with Darren Ganny. Ganny is carrying the puck now. Over the line from McLean. Gardner is loose in front of the goal, but it is Ottawa's Bruce Cassidy that has the puck and dumps it down the ice.
25 seconds.
Now the 67's defending again as Gardner moves in. Scott Gardner, number 22, checked. Creighton can't clear it. Doug McIntyre on the other side. There's the shot by Kocock. Pang makes the save. The rebound squirts loose. McLellan can't clear it out of his own zone. McIntyre makes a nice move to get away from Creighton. Moves it into the corner. McLean can't get it to the front of the net. Then threw it away as Creighton picked it up. The penalty to Brad Shaw is over. 67's are back at full strength. McLellan with a shot deflects off a skate and into the stands with 2 minutes to go in the second period.
What a job Doug McIntyre did out there. They just couldn't get good possession in the Ottawa 67's end zone. Mavaty says he's one of the most coachable players he's ever worked with. Really coming alive now that Quinn has gone to the Calgary Flames. He has kind of taken over the leadership role.
Was eligible for the draft in '82 and wasn't drafted. There's Scott Gardner, who plays a little bit like Doug McIntyre, I think. Very aggressive. He's not a great big guy.
One of the reasons he left and went to Windsor is he was a little disappointed playing behind Quinn and McIntyre here, and as a result, Mavaty accommodated him, moved him to Windsor, and that's where he had the knee injury.
Here's 22 Gardner, checked up as he tried to split the defense. Brad Shaw ahead for Brian McKinnon. McKinnon to center with Patterson and Roy. The pass to Patterson in front. Roy is checked up, but the pass didn't get there. Mike Bellucci scooped up a pass in front. Plays it on the other side for Tim Bean. Knocked into the Ottawa zone. Shaw is back for it. Minute and a half to play, second period. Brian Small steals the puck in behind the Ottawa goal, and McKinnon recovers. Milari and Martin go to the boards. 67's come up with a puck. Darcy Roy stood up at center ice by Mario Martini. Here's Jim Andanoff, knocked down. by McKinnon. Bill Patterson in his own zone. Play a little scrappy right now as they pile up on the end boards with the puck underneath them and get a stop in play. 58 seconds to go in the second period. We'll remind you that coming up in our second intermission, Dave McLellan of the Belleville Bulls will be along to talk with Mike. We'll have a feature on Brian Kilray, the coach of the Ottawa 67's.
Well, we just saw Mario Martini there. He's a good up-and-down winger. A little bit of an awkward skating style, perhaps, but he gets there. And some of the young fans in the building today wishing that camera was on them, so all their friends that weren't fortunate enough to get seats here today in Belleville maybe saw them.
In Ottawa territory, Martini trying to center it and can't. Bruce Cassidy plays it to McLaren, out to Adam Creighton. Creighton checked by Dunk McIntyre. McIntyre has stayed on it pretty well today. Mike Bellucci dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone. Cassidy ahead for Roberts. Here's Adam Creighton. Made a move but couldn't get around Bellucci. Creighton in the corner. 20 seconds to go in the period. Creighton coming out front. He was knocked over and lost the puck. Creighton's so tall and he's got such a long reach that it helps him in trying to get around players because he can reach so far for the puck. We're in the last 10 seconds of the second period. And the play is called with 1 second to go in the second period.
Not much you can do with 1 second left on the clock. Even if you do win the draw, not time enough to get that shot away. Just a matter of dropping the puck and going to the dressing rooms.
Well, the Bulls worked pretty hard in this second period. They've come up empty-handed, haven't been able to score. The first half of the period, Ottawa dominated, but I think in the last 10 minutes, the Bulls have had some chances. Darren Pang has stopped them, and they've missed a couple of opportunities.
Some good rebound situations for the Bulls. They just haven't been able to get it up and over Pang.
So they'll drop the puck, and it'll all be over. The buzzer sounds to end the second period from the Quitty Sports Center. In Belleville, Roberts and Cassidy scored for Ottawa. Cassidy on the power play, the only goals of the second period. And so the score at the end of 2 periods is Ottawa 3 and Belleville 1.
Well, 67's leading the Belleville Bulls by a score of 3-1 after 2 periods of play. But I remind you that last year we had the Belleville Bulls twice on our OHL Game of the Week telecast. And on both occasions, they came from behind to win games. Once against Peterborough, the other time against the same Ottawa 67's. A young man who I am sure remembers both of those games very clearly is star right winger Dave McLellan of the Belleville Bulls. And I guess I wouldn't be overstating that, would I, Dave?
Maybe a little bit, but I'd try.
All right, this afternoon's game, you had a few chances there in the second period, but just could not capitalize.
No, Darren Pang's a really good goal. He's playing really well today, and I think the key to scoring on him is we're going to have to raise the puck, get it up high in the net, because he goes down quite a bit, but we're getting a lot of shots, but we're shooting low on him and not bearing down enough around the net.
Let's talk a little bit about Dave McLean's career in the Ontario Hockey League. You started out with the Oshawa Generals after having been a product of Brantford's minor system, and then the Generals traded you to Belleville. Your reaction to that deal and why it may have happened?
I think it worked out fine, and overall, coming to Belleville, Belleville's a really good place to play, and good management and everything. Things just weren't working out in Oshawa. I wasn't getting much ice time, and not really producing the way I maybe should have. Coming here was a great break for me.
But there wasn't any disappointment going from a team that ultimately finished in the Memorial Cup Finals to a team that was in only its second season of junior hockey?
Well, you know, I would have loved to play in the Memorial Cup. I think anyone would, but, you know, Belleville's, like I said, great place to play, and it's got a really good atmosphere. The players really work hard in the games, and, you know, missing the Memorial Cup was a tough break, but coming here was good.
When they talk about Dave McLellan, coaches, opposing players, scouts, they talk about, quote, natural scoring ability. Is that something that you have always possessed?
Well, I've always got a fair amount of goals, but I think I actually get a lot of chances, and I miss a lot of chances, but I don't know, I think it's just getting a lot of chances, being in the right place at the right time, and then being in the right place, you get a lot of goals.
What's it like playing for Larry Mavaty, who can be a hard taskmaster at times?
Larry makes us work really hard, but I think it's great because, you know, watch us in the third here. We'll come back.
You are a third-period hockey club, and something else I think that should be pointed out is the fact that there are 3,000 fans here. I'm not sure that there's any crowd more enthusiastic and more supportive than the one in Belleville, and I would have to believe it does mean something to the players.
Oh yeah, we have great fan support. Never less than 2,400 a game in such a small city is great. They're always noisy too, really loud.
What do you think about your pro career after you leave Belleville, go to the NHL? Hartford has you on their list. You have not signed with the Hartford Whalers.
No, I would love to sign with Hartford. Be a great place to play, and you know, that's everybody's goal in life and dream to play in the NHL someday. So hopefully someday I'll be able to.
Okay, thank you very much. Dave McLellan, who has 89 points this season, 49 goals, 40 assists. A key member of the Belleville Bulls as they, of course, try to come from behind against the Ottawa 67's. Coming up, a behind-the-scenes profile of Ottawa coach Brian Kilray. The score is Ottawa 3, Belleville 1.
In 1981, when the Ontario Hockey League expanded to Belleville, the Bulls needed a good first-round draft pick. They went to London Junior B and found Denis Quinn, and he was all they expected him to be, doubling his output in his second season with Belleville. Last year, he had 147 points and was third in scoring in the OHL. This year, he's been snapped up by the Calgary Flames to center a line that includes Lanny McDonald on the right side, and Quinn hasn't disappointed. Over a point a game with Calgary, Denis Quinn, a former Belleville Bull.
It stands after 40 minutes of action. The 67's leading the Bulls by a score of 3-1. His nickname is Killer. He is one of the wittiest and one of the winningest coaches in junior hockey. Now, I'm talking about the man behind the bench for the Ottawa 67's, Brian Kilray.
What we said in the past carries right on. Ability to win a lot of hockey games. That's the whole desire in the third grade. If you're ready tonight, let's have a good warm-up. Let's be ready for a 60-minute hockey.
The pregame pep talk is nothing new to Brian Kilray. He's been doing it with the Ottawa 67's for almost 10 years and still enjoys it. Kilray has been described as a career junior coach.
I have been. And honestly, I probably will end up in junior because I've enjoyed it, and the kids have been tremendous for me. But every once in a while, the urge may hit, or somebody may talk about moving up, and I've never really turned a deaf ear, but I've always stayed in junior because they were the ones who gave me the start, and really it's where I have a lot of fun.
Kilray was an all-star forward in the American Hockey League. He came up through the midget ranks in coaching and then started turning out professionals like Bobby Smith, Doug Wilson, Steve Payne. And it's watching young players advance that keep him going.
The fun of the kids, you know, you look forward to seeing them. They all have different problems. They're not all the same, but when they come, I think it's the total respect they have for the organizations as well as themselves. And so what we try to do is work on the discipline areas as well as the talent areas, so that when they leave junior, they know that there's a time and a place to have your fun and be respectful. And I look for that challenge. Obviously, we can't be 100% perfect, but we try. They all want to get to the National Hockey League. And what you have to do is let them know that they aren't all going to make it. And that's the reason we stress school so much in our league. Because by making them conscious of school, as well as the hockey, we're hoping that if they don't make it, then the odds are that all of them won't naturally, that they do have something else to fall back on. But if we can make their junior days enjoyable as well as hockey valuable, then really we're doing a good job.
Through all of those years in the minors and all of those years in junior, Kilray has boarded the bus night after night for a different arena, and it doesn't seem to bother him.
No, I played for Eddie Shore for 9 years in the American Hockey League, and we only traveled by bus. Everybody else had that, or a lot of them had the advantage of flying where they were going, but we never did fly, and I got to enjoy the success naturally was not by the card games, and some weeks where you were a little bit poorer than others, but the bus never bothered me because when you were there, you were there. I didn't have to look and count the miles because we were worried about counting the card trick, you know. So the bus has never bothered me, and matter of fact, I think it's a good thing in junior because you get to be with your players. So if you started after a game or the next day, maybe you just had a bad loss or a couple of players haven't played well, you can go and talk to them on the bus and tell them some of the things that they might have done wrong or what to expect. And one of the things that boys have to realize in junior, they're going to have a lot of bad games because they've got the pressures of new homes, new schools, new surroundings, and then they're trying to make a team as well. So you try to put them at ease saying, I expect a few bad games, you know, so don't worry about it. Don't get down on yourself to the point where they're going to worry themselves out of the league.
Kilray coached the national junior team this season. He's been an all-star coach in the OHL, and you wonder what's left. Someday he might turn pro, but it's going to be his way.
I realize it's a tough league and it's a win at all costs, but again, if it's a win at all costs, I'm not going to change Brian Kilray to go somewhere else and do what everybody tells me. Like, I have my own mind and I'm going to do what I think is best. And if that isn't the case, then they won't have to worry about taking me because that'll be spelled out really before I would ever go anywhere. Not that I would want to turn anyone off, but I want them to know what I'm like.
A blue-chip coaching prospect, Brian Kilray. Incidentally, one of his oldest and one of his closest friends is Don Grapes Cherry. And when those two gentlemen get together, needless to say, nobody has a chance to say a word except the two of them, and it is one of the most hilarious gatherings ever. Don Cherry and Brian Kilray, two of hockey's great coaches. Coming up in just a minute, Jerry and Gary. I should say Jim and Gary with their impressions of period number 2, which, of course, the Ottawa 67's lead by a score of 3-1.
On our OHL update, let's have a look at the goaltenders in the Ontario Hockey League. The leaders in average, Greg Corum of the Ottawa 67's is not playing today as Darren Pang gets the start. Chris Pusey doing a great job with Alan Vester up with the Leafs is second. You see the other top goaltenders in terms of average in the OHL. Wins Dave Mazzaros of the Toronto Marlboros leads in that department, tied with Ray LeBlanc. Two top teams right now, Toronto and Kitchener. Peter Sidorkiewicz of the Oshawa Generals third, and Corum of Ottawa is fourth. Those are the top goalies in the Ontario Hockey League.
Promotional considerations for the OHL Game of the Week are provided by Dermatone Skincare. Save your skin from the damaging effects of cold, wind, sun, and pool chemicals with Swedish formula Dermatone. It's 100% water-free and allows 5 times normal sun exposure. Dermatone saves your skin and keeps moisture in. Meta Copier, the world-famous Meta Copier, the reliable, affordable copier that expands as you need it with a size for every office. Meta, when reliability is the bottom line. The Remington Micro Screen Shaver from Remington, the ever-popular micro screen rechargeable shaver complete with travel case, guaranteed to shave as close as a blade or your money back. That's Remington.
3-1 is the score. The Ottawa 67's lead the Belleville Bulls. The Bulls actually outshot Ottawa 9-7 in that second period, and it wasn't for lack of chances that they didn't score and are behind by 2 goals. Their work ethic is great. They work very hard, and well, you look at their lineup and you think, boy, there's a lot of guys that nobody else wanted around the Ontario Hockey League. 5 guys in the Belleville team started with this season with different teams. 10 of them were drafted by other teams, and Larry Mavaty has done a pretty good job with some players that other people have given up on.
Jim, so often they say that a team symbolizes their coach, and I think this Belleville team is a perfect example. Let's face it, Larry Mavaty, who was a good, hard, strong, aggressive hockey player, bounced around kind of from one team to another in pro hockey, never quite made it up there to the top, and he knows what that feels like. And he has been taking some guys that other teams said couldn't play. He's brought them here to Belleville, and he's put the work ethic to them and made them work hard. You heard their players talk about that already today, and I think as a result that he's got a good, consistent team out here. I don't think they played a bad minute out there. They've had some good opportunities, as you mentioned. They could have perhaps even tied this game by this point in time, but I like his style of team.
All right, let's have a look at an Ottawa 67 goal in that second period, the one that made it 2-1. This goal was scored by Gary Roberts.
Well, it was a really good play out of the corner area. You can see a good pass there by McLellan. But Roberts right in the slot area, not covered, and that was a downfall right there. But he picked that spot beautifully in the net. You couldn't get much better a shot from the slot area.
Well, we've got a couple of pretty good teams here, and probably two of the most colorful coaches in the Ontario Hockey League. You know, Larry Mavaty wasn't around when you were in here, but Brian Kilray was, and there's some pretty interesting days when you're coaching against either one of these guys, I'm sure.
I think that was probably the most entertaining hour before a game that we've had so far, listening to Larry Mavaty and Brian Kilray go at each other. I sure enjoyed my days here coaching in this division with Brian Kilray. He was always a lot of fun. He made your job enjoyable. I just wish Larry Mavaty had been around here too.
Well, Kilray's having a little bit more of an enjoyable day with his Ottawa 67's. He's leading the Belleville Bulls 3-1. We get set for the third period. The Ottawa 67's have had some great scorers over the seasons, and one of their greatest was a 67 named Jimmy Fox. He amassed 396 points. His best season was his final one, 79-80, when he counted 65 goals and 166 points and was named to the first All-Star team, won the league championship, was the MVP, a 30-goal scorer in the NHL with Los Angeles, another former 67, Jim Fox. Jim Hughson, Gary Green, and Mike Anscombe back at the Quinte Sports Center in Belleville for the OHL Game of the Week. There's a look at the second period summary. All Ottawa. Roberts 15th from Don McLellan. The power play goal from Cassidy off the face-off from Roberts and Creighton. See the shots on goal in the second period. Belleville out in front, and after two periods, Belleville's outshot Ottawa 19-17. Ottawa's had a pair of opportunities on the power play. They've scored once. The Bulls are 0 for 1. There's only been 16 minutes in penalties in the game. 9 of those to Belleville, 7 to Ottawa as we get set for the start of the third period. And you can bet the Bulls will come out working just as hard as they did in the second, trying to get right back in this.
It'll be interesting, Jim, to see how well-conditioned these two teams are. Both of them played last night. 67's coming out with a win. Bulls coming out with a loss. 6 goals by Conway?
Kevin Conway. 6 goals.
That's remarkable.
And every one of them was assisted on by Tim Salmon. The two play together. They're 1-2 in the OHL scoring race, and they got their team a win. Here it's 3-1, Ottawa leading Belleville. The third period is underway. Darren Pang and Joe Mattioni, the goaltenders. Ken Miller is the referee. And the play is in the Ottawa zone. Roy Malari trying to clear it. Don McLellan gives it a hand. Gets the puck out to center. Here's Jim Andonov. Off the boards to Mario Martini. Roberts got to the puck, was knocked down. Backhand shot by McIntyre. Went wide. Here's McIntyre again with a shot into the skates of Brad Shaw. Shaw, the captain of the 67's, trying to clear it out of his own zone, is bumped from behind, but moves the puck to Don McLellan. He has Creighton with him at center. McLellan's shot gloved by Joe Mattioni. It was going wide, but he held on and got the face-off. Well, we'll remind you to stay tuned after the game for the Molson Cup 3-star selection. Molson is proud to present the Molson Cup in all 15 Ontario Hockey League cities. Brian Kilray rode the buses for 9 seasons with Eddie Shore down at Springfield. No wonder he's got such a good sense of humor. Life's a breeze after that, I'm told.
He has seen it all, believe me.
Here's Brian McKinnon. Checked from behind, trying to get the shot away and can't. McKinnon has a goal in this game. McKinnon, after the puck again, gets it into the Belleville zone as he's hit on the boards by Mike Savage. McMichael to Dave McLean. Rink wide for Savage. Savage dumps the puck in, is taken out of the play by Cassidy. Bob Giffen is checked by Craig Cox. McLean comes in and runs into Giffen. Scramble for the puck. Giffen comes up with it. Played for the Calgary Canucks of the Alberta Junior League last year, did Giffen. Here comes Darcy Roy of the 67's in behind, trying to stuff it in, and covering up was Mattioni, and he held on.
Darcy Roy getting his helmet knocked right off, but He went right around behind that net area. He didn't care whether he got hit or not. He was going to try and tuck that puck in the short side. This guy's just a great worker out there. He gets lots of chances around the net, but yet Kilray says he just doesn't seem to have any luck. Good two-way player. The kind that Roger Nielsen has always liked, and ironically, Roger Nielsen now coaching there. He was a LA Kings 5th-round pick, Darcy Roy.
Andioni had to make a save off that faceoff. Now he steers the puck to the point. Here's Tim Bean, number 6. Brian Small goes for the front of the net. They're actually in the corner after the puck. Gardner is out in front of the goal. Back in the point, there's a shot blocked by Darren Pang. That came off the stick of Krokop. Pang clears the puck in the boards, kept in on the other side by Andanoff. Small is checked, and Malari and Small, along with Bill Bennett, hang on to the puck and get the face off.
That line of Bean, Gardner, and Small have played very well this afternoon for the Belleville Bulls. Small, not a very gifted goal scorer, but one heck of a hard worker, gives you 100%, good penalty killer.
19-year-old Toronto native Brian Small was drafted by the Edmonton Oilers in 1982. Played in Ottawa last season, so he's up against some old teammates. McMichael with a shot that is stopped by Darren Pang. Don McLellan with a long pass that's behind Gary Roberts, but he's able to hack the puck into the Belleville zone. 3-1 Ottawa leading. Just about 3 minutes gone, third period. Mike Bellucci lost the puck to Don McLellan. Martin gets the puck away from Adam Creighton. Brian Martin to Bellucci. McIntyre and Martini out at center as Bellucci dumps the puck in. Roberts dumps it back out. McIntyre gets the puck back into the Ottawa zone. Bob Giffen retreats. Giffen on the boards for McLellan. Now the 67's move out. Here's Don McLellan, number 15. And he moves it in offside. Roberts was caught offside on the left wing. No scoring here in the third period. The Ottawa 67 scored the only 2 goals of the second and hold a 2-goal lead in Belleville. This is the OHL game of the week on Global from the Quinte Sports Center in Belleville. Ottawa leading the Bulls 3-1. I'm Jim Hughson with Gary Green and Mike Anscombe. Craig Cox is number 24 for Belleville, dumping the puck into the Ottawa zone off the board. Savage shot it wide from a sharp angle. Here's Craig Cox. Ganny is open at the point, but it comes back to Krokop. His shot kicked away by Darren Pang. Centered at the side of the goal. Out it comes again. Darren Ganny keeps it in against Tim Helmer. Brad Shaw, the defenseman and captain of the 67s, covers up. Tim Helmer, number 21. The long shot that is wide of the Belleville goal. Simone couldn't keep it in. Here's Mike Savage, number 10, with a shot wide of the net. Savage started the season in Sudbury. Number 10 for Belleville, parked out in front of the goal right now. His line mates are Cox and McLean. Helmer's long shot in. Stopped, and both teams make changes on the fly. 4.5 minutes into the third period, 3-1 Ottawa. McLean with a shot on Darren Pang. He holds on in traffic and gets the face-off.
Well, Pang not taking any chances on that one. Mavaty had even indicated, you know, that Pang, just a very strong goaltender. It's interesting when other coaches start talking about other players, you get a different perspective of them. I think this man, Larry Mavaty, probably knows Brian Kilray's team and vice versa as well as each other. I think they do a lot of pre-scouting of each other's teams.
Tim Bean and Bob Giffen bump in the corner. Darcy Roy is the Ottawa player knocked down. And Phil Patterson is moving the puck out on the right wing. Checked from behind by Bellucci. And the play is called offside as it was touched inside that Belleville line. These teams will meet again next Friday night. in Ottawa, and they play 3 games in 3 days in this league, and Ottawa plays in Kitchener tomorrow.
Bill Patterson was out for 9 weeks with a separated shoulder, just getting back into shape now. Kilray, the way that he jokes with his players, he told Patterson that it took him a little longer to get back into shape because he has a tough time getting away from the table. He said, "You're on my same diet."
Here's a race for it. Darcy Roy poked it in front of the goal, and Joe Mattioni held on to get the face-off. With 14:52 to play in the third period, Ottawa leading 3-1 as you look at Joe Mattioni.
He was the Bruins' 5th-round pick in '81. Mavaty thinks that he's improving enough that he will eventually turn pro. He says he helps Billington out a great deal. Been good for the young goaltender.
Joe played 20 games on Cornwall's Memorial Cup winning team in 1981 with the likes of Howard Chuck and Arneal, Jim Kite. The long pass didn't get through to Dunk McIntyre. Darren Ganny with a shot on goal. Pang steered it aside. Cassidy checked in behind the goal. The Bulls trying to center it. McIntyre's loose out in front. Martini back in the point. Krokock on the other side. Brian Martin just dumps it into the corner. Bill Patterson, number 20. Checked by Darren Ganny, and they'll get a face-off in the Ottawa zone 6 minutes into the third period.
Jimmy, as you watch Bob Giffen out there this afternoon, you can see what Kilray means when he says he's a very smart, heady hockey player. When you get a player like this just come walking onto your training campsite and says that he would like to try out for your team and then ends up making it, what a plus that is for you. Great way to start out the year.
Mike Bellucci with a shot. Long ways wide. McMichael keeps the puck in for Belleville on the other side. Bounced over Bill Bennett at center. Bill Bennett with some good hustle in after the puck in the Belleville zone. The Bulls get possession. Mike Savage, long rink-wide pass. Here's Dave McLean. Cox goes for the front of the net. Malari takes McLean out of the play. Malari is a very physical player. Right now we're going to have a penalty. It'll be against Ottawa. Steve Harinovich, who hasn't seen an awful lot of action today, is going to go for hooking. So the Bulls will go on the power play from Belleville. This is your Molson hockey telecast.
Watch this guy killing penalties out there. He angles extremely well. Show you Kilray's humor. He says he's not very big, but he sure is small. Does that make any sense to you, Jim?
Bill Bennett. In his draft year, a little guy with 50 points and probably not much opportunity, much hope for him to be picked up by an NHL team, but you never know. He's killing the penalty to Steve Harinovich. Harinovich went for hooking at 6:22. Here's Darcy Roy. Shoots it. Mattioni made a nice save. That's aggressive penalty killing.
Oh, I like the attitude of Darcy Roy. Boy, he was hurt and then just got right back up, determined as all heck, goes down and ends up getting a great shot away. Came close to finding that area that he was looking for, the short side. But take a look at it right here. He'd end up getting hit with the puck. That's why it was hurting. He went charging all the way down the ice. Shows great determination.
The Bulls would dearly like to get this power play going right now. They're down 3-1. They have a man advantage. Dave McLean is up front. Craig Cox and Mike Savage with him. This is Rob Krokock on the point with Dunk McIntyre. 15. McIntyre will quarterback for the most part on this power play. Here he is back after the puck. He and Bill Bennett about the same size, going up the ice side by side there. Into the middle, Craig Cox. Drops it off for McLean, who in turn drops it for McIntyre. On the other side, Krokock shoots into a crowd. It was blocked. Bill Bennett scoops it up. Darcy Roy dumps the puck into the Belleville zone. 1 minute left in the penalty to Harinovich. McIntyre for Craig Cox. Cox shoots, deflected. And that one went way up into the stands for a stop and play.
Just a reminder that next week, Jim Hughson, Mike Anscombe, and myself will be at Oshawa, where the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds face the Oshawa Generals. That's at 2 o'clock. Next Saturday, February the 11th. We'll be entertained one more time by Paul Theriault's Generals. And always fun to watch. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. We had a great game with the Oshawa Generals there last week, and Toronto Marlies. One of the better hockey games I've seen in a long time.
Here the Belleville Bulls trailing 3-1 to the Ottawa 67's are on a power play with 40 seconds to go, and a penalty to Steve Harinovich. Dumped into the Ottawa zone. Darren Pang there to clear it. It'll be kept into the point by Mike Bellucci. But Brian Martin, he gives it off to Doug McIntyre. Pass to the point, got by Bellucci and down the ice. And the Bulls are having a little trouble getting things together here on this power play. 10 seconds left in the Harinovich penalty. 3-1 Ottawa. 11:45 to go, third period. Bellucci stops, dumps it into the corner. Bradshaw is there for it. Harinovich is out of the penalty box. 67's are back at full strength. Gary Roberts dumps the puck to center.
This is where Shaw and Cassidy really take over when they're out there killing penalties. Great speed, agility. They can anticipate so well. Tough for Belleville right now to try and get that puck in and get possession with those two guys out there.
Here's Gary Roberts, number 10, moving it out for the Ottawa 67's. Cut off at center by Scott Gardner. Gardner takes a hit, but moves the puck in. Tim Bean in after it. Didn't run into Malari. Malari was able to move the puck. Darren Ganny keeps the puck in. Malari trying to clear it. He's down on the ice. Roberts takes over. Dumping the puck into the Belleville zone. Back the other way comes Brian Small. He's checked by Malari and spun around. Tim Bean, number 6 for the Belleville Bulls. Checked by Phil Patterson. Bean goes back after him and pins Patterson to the boards. Gets the face-off.
That Tim Bean shows a lot of second determination as well. He wasn't satisfied with that puck being tied up in the corner by the Ottawa 67 player. He just gave him another little run in.
Bean's only 16.
He's going to be an amazing hockey player. 6'1", and with his size and strength, he's 186 pounds. That's very unusual for a young man that age. Just a minor midget. Getting better every day.
You bet. Not eligible for the NHL draft till 1985, so have all of next season at least to develop. 10.5 minutes to play, third period. Ottawa 3, Belleville 1. Here's Rob Krokock. Behind the net, a centering pass went onto the stick of Steve Harinovich. Play went in offside at the Ottawa line, and we get another stop and play.
Well, we take a look at Mike Savage playing along on that line with Cox and McLean. This guy's got all the tools. He can skate. He's tough. I'm sure levels some good hits out there.
Cassidy and Giffen move the puck up, but Jim Andonoff keeps it in for the Belleville Bulls. Bulls get possession again at center. McLean overskated the puck. Moving it in is Savage. Savage tried to get through the middle, and Giffen just stayed with him. Took the puck away. Here's Bill Bennett, number 2. Feeds it into the middle for Harinovich. He was stopped. In the Belleville zone, Krokock ties it up on the boards. Along with Bill Bennett, wanted a face-off, but the puck comes loose. Craig Cox, number 24. His pass coming up the left wing is Savage. Stopped by Cassidy.
You talk about discipline. You watch Kilray's team. They're trying to defend that lead. They've always got 3 men back, sometimes 4 right now. They're working hard 2 ways.
Less than 10 minutes to play, third period. 3-1, Ottawa leading Belleville. Jim Andenoff into the boards by Gary Roberts for a stop in play, and you're watching the OHL Game of the Week. Jim Hughson with Gary Green and Mike Anscombe on the OHL Game of the Week on Global. We're in Belleville, where the Bulls trail the Ottawa 67's 3-1 in the third period. Brad Shaw back in his own zone.
Watch that McIntyre. He's out there again for the Bulls. He'll be all over the ice once again, hitting everything in sight.
Here comes Tom McLellan with one man back. Shot was blocked by Mike Bellucci, number 23 for the Bulls. Bulls have got to get some offense going here pretty quick, down by 2. Scott McMichael over to Mike Bellucci. Heading out of Brian Martin. There's Dunk McIntyre, number 15, takes the shot. Pang makes the save. The rebound got by Martin as he was tied up by Shaw. Adam Creighton to Don McLaren, slipped it into the middle. Bellucci stayed with the man, though, so no danger for the Bulls there. Dunk McIntyre just clears the puck out of his own zone. Adam Creighton trying to move back in. Kent Darcy Roy will dump it in. Scrambly play around the Belleville line. Long shot by Brian Small is wide of the net. Tim Bean in after the puck. Bean is checked on the boards. Bouncing puck at the line, just kept onside by Darren Ganny. Ganny again trying to keep the puck in. This time he can't. Here's Phil Patterson with one man back. Slips it over to the other side, and Gardner saw that Darcy Roy was coming in from the left side and took him out of the play. Ganny dumps the puck in. 7.5 minutes to play, third period. 3-1 Ottawa. Belleville on the attack right now. Small takes Darcy Roy into the boards, and they'll tie it up for a face-off in the Ottawa zone.
A couple of times today, this Phil Patterson has released that puck, and boy, can he shoot it. He was Chicago Blackhawks' 9th round pick in '82.
They've just announced the attendance here today, 3,133 in the Quinte Sports Center, and that's just about all it can hold, even if an awful lot of them are standing. They like to see their team get going here in the third period. 7:26 to go. They're down by 2. Phil Patterson chases the puck on the boards in his own zone. Can't clear it. Kept in by Scott Gardner, number 22 for the Bulls. Giffen can't clear it. Gets a second opportunity and dumps the puck to center. A 2-line offside pass called against the Bulls, so we get another stop in play.
Ryan Small getting the one Belleville goal this afternoon. Maybe that point that Larry Mavaty brought up earlier, said he's not a gifted goal scorer, gave Brian Small a little extra incentive for this afternoon.
McKinnon, Roberts, and Cassidy have scored for Ottawa. Here comes Dave McLean. Is stopped by Darren Pang. McLean broke away on the right side, but he was held from behind, and there's going to be a penalty against the Ottawa 67's. Here it is.
Well, coming from behind, that's a cardinal sin. Right now, this puts Belleville right back into the game. You can see it all along here. McLean, you know, if you hadn't have taken that penalty, however, McLean, being a good goal scorer as he is, might have just rung one up in that top corner. As a result, they're going to have to work a little bit harder to get a chance to score.
Interference is the call against Bob Giffen. Call it what you will. It was a penalty, no doubt. 13:08. The time of the penalty. The Bulls are 0 for 2 on the power play, and they desperately need to get going this time. They haven't been able to even set up on their power play previous to this. Now they'll set up around that Ottawa box. Dunk McIntyre quarterbacking on the point. To McLean. There's his shot. Pang kicks it out. Bill Bennett moves the rebound to center and sends it down the ice.
I think if I was Belleville right now, when I've got a couple of guys like McIntyre back in the point, shooting that puck away, I'd get a big guy right in front of that net area. Cox just might be the guy.
You're right. Cox might just be the guy. And he goes for the front of the net now. Ganny To Savage and back to Ganny. McIntyre moves it in for McLean. To McIntyre. Down in the middle. Cox shoots it from a sharp angle and just drove it around on the boards. Ganny in for Savage. Tried to feed it in front as McLean was open, but Cassidy cut it off. Minute and 4 seconds left in the penalty to Bob Giffen. Interference call. Cox for Savage. His shot. Pang makes the save, and quickly on the rebound is Cassidy.
Good shot by Savage, but once again, nobody in front of Pang. Pang has played too well this afternoon. You can't give him direct shots. You got to get in front and screen him and look for those rebounds.
See if they go for the front this time. McIntyre for McLean. McLean's shot stopped by Pang. 2 Bulls in front that time. Play is called as the puck was tied up on the boards. A pretty good wrestling match between Shaw and Savage in front.
Savage was trying to do his job. He was trying to get in front of that net, exactly what it's going to take for them to get better scoring opportunities. Now, this is the best scoring opportunity they've had. You see, Savage in front of that net area, almost deflected in off of him. But unfortunately, when you've got Brad Shaw out there trying to clean you out, Shaw keeps his eyes on that puck as well as keeping his arms on you in front of that net area. Makes it very difficult.
32 seconds left in the penalty to Bob Giffen. The Bulls have controlled the play on this power play, but they really haven't had an awful lot of good opportunities. They've been able to control around the perimeter of the Ottawa box. 3-1 Ottawa leading, just over 5 minutes to go.
One last chance, 15 seconds.
Deep in the Ottawa zone, well, the Bulls will get a face-off where they'd like one to be. They'll have to win a draw and get possession in the Ottawa zone now.
This guy even looks like Doug Crossman, and that was the resemblance that was given to him. He plays like Crossman. Cassidy and Shaw out there killing off the penalties all day long today.
Cassidy's done a great job, you're right. He's got to be one of the candidates in the Molson Cup 3-star selections. Stay tuned for those after the game. The penalty is over. Bob Giffen is back on the ice, but he couldn't get back over the red line to take that pass. He was offside.
He knew what he wanted to do. He was desperately trying to get back over that red line, then get the puck, but unfortunately for Giffen, just didn't work out timing-wise for him. Smart move, though.
We're down to 4:49 remaining at the Quiddy Sports Center in Belleville. And obviously somebody overruled that offside call, and they're moving the face-off to center ice. Bellucci to McMichael. The Bulls dump it in. McIntyre's been on the ice a lot, and he's out there again right now. Bellucci tried to pass it to McIntyre. Cassidy has been on the ice all through this third period and most of the game, and he's out there again, and he broke up that play. A race for the puck. Martin goes in after it. Loose in the corner. Icing is waved off as the Bulls got to it. Bellucci's shot is blocked. McMichael from the other side. In behind the goal. McIntyre centers it. Picked off in front by Brian McKinnon. McKinnon scored the first Ottawa goal of the day, and he dumps the puck down to the Bulls line. The 67's trying to dump it in, peel off, pick up a winger, stay with their men, and protect the 2-goal lead. Less than 4 minutes to go, third period. Ottawa 3, Belleville 1. McKinnon with a pass for McLellan was broken up by the Bulls. Here's Scott McMichael. Over the line, got a weak shot away that went wide. And Darcy Roy scoops up the puck in his own zone. A pass ahead from McLellan. Creighton gets after it. Adam Creighton makes a move at the line, holds on to the puck. Darcy Roy moves up, shoots it, deflected wide. Creighton is bumped in the corner and knocked down by Brian Martin. McMichael ties up the puck, can't hold it though. Roy can't get out front. Adam Creighton at the side of the net, lost the puck. The Bulls want a face-off. They want to stop in play. They'll get one now as the 67's are offside. No scoring here in the third period. The Ottawa 67's cling to a 2-goal lead. We're back at the Quiddy Sports Center in Belleville. Time is 3:08 remaining in this third period. It's obviously becoming a factor for the Belleville Bulls as they're down by 2.
It's going to be tough for Belleville to try and penetrate that blue line because the 67's very conscious of their lead right now. Have got 4 men back.
They've got enough goals to win, they figure, and they just want to hold on here. Here's McLellan centering it. Roberts shoots, scores. That about does it. Gary Roberts scores from McLellan.
Roberts' second goal of the game, and once again coming off this pass from McLellan. And Roberts has shown this afternoon that he can sure shoot the puck. Let's take a look at it. McLellan, this guy almost looks like a pure passer. Something that I'm sure could help him in his quest to turn pro, but watch as Roberts finds the area, puts it right up and over.
Roberts, a 17-year-old from Whitby in his draft year, gets his 16th of the season from McLellan at 17-18 to make it 4-1 Ottawa.
Mantione just went down a little bit too soon there. He was trying to second-guess Roberts.
And a lot of the folks here in Belleville start to head for the exits as their team is now down by 3. Here come the Bulls. Jim Andanoff on the right wing. His shot is blocked by Roy Malari and dumped to center. Krokock, the other side to Andanoff. He'll lug it in himself. This is Small, actually, and his shot is deflected up into the stands for a stop-in play with 2:10 to play in the third period.
Small has played a good game this afternoon as well, but with 2 minutes and 10 seconds remaining, Jim, you may get 1. You might get 2, but I don't think you'll ever get 3.
The scoring play at 17-18 was Roberts' 16th of the season from McLellan and Shaw. For Roberts, his 3rd point of the day. He has 2 goals and an assist. Scott Gardner gets a shot on Darren Pang, who scoops up the puck and holds on. Pang has been very steady today, and it sure helps to have some all-star defensemen in front of you. Cassidy and Shaw are both all-star defensemen in the Leyden division.
Pang used to be here in Belleville, and one thing that Kilray says that he's improved upon is the fact that because he's small, he's started to stand up. He used to go down in the butterfly style, and as a result, left the whole top of the net area open.
The Bulls not quitting with 2 minutes left. Still trying to put some more on the board. They scored the first goal of the game, but then the next 4 came from the Ottawa 67's. Bruce Cassidy. The other side for Mike James. He's been used sparingly today. Dumps the puck into the Belleville zone. McMichael back for it. Ryan Small with 1.5 minutes to go. His pass for Tim Bean. Bean is checked at the line, and Bellucci has to turn back to wait for his mates to get on side. Rob Krokock dumps the puck into the Ottawa zone. Back forward is Cassidy. Pass gets by James and deep into the Belleville zone. Now 1 minute and 15 seconds to go as the 67's make changes on the fly. Coming down the right wing is Mario Martini. Checked at the line. Krokock dumps the puck back to the Ottawa line. 67's will move within 2 points of the Toronto Marlboros in second place in the Leyden division. Belleville Bulls will fall 2 games under 500. Here's McIntyre with a shot just high and wide. 40 seconds to go. 4-1 Ottawa leading. Brad Shaw dumps it up for Bill Bennett, trying to break away. Krokock catches it. Bennett had those legs pumping, but those other big guys coming back got a few strides on it. 20 seconds to go. 4-1 Ottawa. And Brian Martin will take a long shot in on Darren Pang, who's only let one by him today, and that was a rebound off a breakaway. He stopped the breakaway shot. They scored on the rebound. 5 seconds to go as icing is called against the 67's. And that'll be about it. They'll get a face-off. Bulls may get a chance for a shot, but it won't do much for them.
No, it certainly won't. Mike Vellucci, we're taking a look at right there. Only his second year as a defenseman. A lot of players on this Belleville team have been forwards, converted defensemen, vice versa. Mavaty finding some extra skills.
Centering pass as the buzzer sounds to end the hockey game, and the Ottawa 67's come out to congratulate their goaltender Darren Pang as the 67's win their 5th consecutive game, defeating the Belleville Bulls 4-1.
They've been used to winning, Jim. I like this Ottawa club. Played extremely well this afternoon. Now, you just put Mark Patterson in the lineup, a very good defensive defenseman that Hartford called up, have taken away from them right now. They should get him back. And put John Hanna, their 4th leading scorer, who's got a groin injury in the lineup. And I think you've got one heck of a race between Ottawa, the Marlies, Kitchener.
Going to be exciting.
Could come right down to the last week.
The final score is Ottawa 4 and Belleville 1. We'll have the Molson Cup 3-star selection in just a moment. Here are your Molson Cup 3-star selections. The first star for the Ottawa 67's, Bruce Cassidy. The second star from the Belleville Bulls, Doug McIntyre. And the third star from the 67's, goaltender Darren Pang.
All right, it was Bruce Cassidy, the star defenseman of the Ottawa 67's, being named first star. Doug McIntyre of the Belleville Bulls, number 2, and goalkeeper Darren Pang of the 67's, the third star. The final score, of course, the Ottawa 67's beating the Belleville Bulls by a score of 4-1, and we'll be back to talk to the star of the game, Bruce Cassidy, right after these messages. The 67's pulling to within 2 points of first place Toronto in that battle for top spot in the Leyden Division with a 4-1 victory over the Belleville Bulls this afternoon. Joining me now is Glenn Sonmore of the Minnesota North Stars. Glenn is now in charge of player development and I guess traveled thousands and thousands of miles every year.
Well, it's good for me, Mike, that we have 6 boys on the University of Minnesota team that we've drafted. And also we had 4 young men on the United States Olympic team, which was based out of Minneapolis, or I wouldn't have been home very much. As it was, I was able to justify staying around home a fair amount of the time because I was following the American Olympic team and our 4 prospects there and the University of Minnesota kids a good deal. But I do get around the country a good deal.
Let's talk about the upcoming Olympic Games and how you see it unfolding.
Well, I guess my memory is too recent of the Russian team in last April over in West Germany, and I really think this way about both the Canadian team and the American team. They're going to make great representatives. They're a bunch of high-class, hard-working young men and good hockey teams in each case, but they are a fair shade below the Russians, and that's no knock on anybody. It's just how it is. It could happen again, but it would be a miracle again.
Yeah. But that was the case, Glenn, in 1980, and yet emotions and patriotism played such an integral part in the U.S. victory, and now, of course, with the games being held overseas, the emotion isn't there.
Yeah, I think that's a very key point, Mike. We kid about this and we say the Russians allow us a miracle every 20 years in 1960 and 1980, and they only allow it when we're in the United States, or maybe 88 in Calgary might be another miracle because there is the emotion involved when you're playing at home.
There has been a great deal of conjecture, a great deal of comment about opening up the Olympics to professionals. And the argument, of course, is that many of the European players are guised as amateurs, but in fact are paid. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's no question that they're paid. You know, the Russians they have the best standard of living Russians can have. That's their job, and there's no doubt about that. I think it even is more apparent when teams try to go and get a player like that big Kuhnhackl, who's a great player with West Germany, and find out he's making a couple $100,000 a year. And he'll be playing, or that's what it's going to take to get him, so you assume he's making that, and he'll play in the Olympics. So I think that it needs to be cleared up from that aspect, and I hope very sincerely that when 88s come around, it'll be the best players for each country, and that bit of sham and whatever you want to call it is gone.
Would you anticipate support from the National Hockey League collectively?
Yes, I would think so. I think it's too bad that the Americans and the Canadians are squabbling among themselves right now. I think their intentions are both good. They want to get the thing out in the open. The Americans feel badly that that if it was going to be this way, that they should have known that they could use guys that only had 10 games or so. But I think it's too bad they're squabbling. My own opinion is, out of it all will come some good things, and quite conceivably, in 1988, we'll see Gretzky and all of our best players playing against the Russians.
We can hardly wait. Let's just, for a moment, talk about Glenn Sonmore. You had, Glenn, publicized problems in Minnesota. You have made a remarkable recovery, and for that we congratulate you. I'm wondering how it was for you in terms of readjusting from no longer being the coach to now as director of player personnel. Was it a tough pill to swallow?
Well, yes, it is a difficult adjustment, and it was and still is a difficult adjustment, Mike. You're used to being where decisions are made every day and where you find out if you're right or wrong quickly. I now am put in a position where some of the things I'm deciding won't be, I won't know whether I'm right or wrong for 4 or 5 years from now. It's a difficult adjustment. I have been very fortunate that I have the people in Minnesota stood right with me, and I've been very appreciative of that. But I'd be less than honest if I said that I didn't miss being closer to the action. And however, I'm very fortunate. I'm in hockey yet. I get to deal with delightful people. For example, I'm spending some time with Harry Howell now. If anybody could complain about doing that, they'd have to be nuts. And people that I respect and appreciate doing things with. So, and I am away from all that tension and the necessity of winning every night. Yeah. But again, that's not something that that is something that I miss too. So there are two sides to this, Mike.
Well, I think that you're to be congratulated for winning what might have been the toughest battle of your career, and we wish you much success and happiness in the future, Glenn Sonmore.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. All right, the final score again, in case you missed it, the Ottawa 67's beating the Belleville Bulls by a score of 4-1. And now let's go upstairs to Jim Hughson.
Let's take a look at some of the games coming up next week in the Ontario Hockey League. The Ottawa 67's will move on to play Kitchener tomorrow with a 5-game winning streak on the line. That could be one of the great games coming up tomorrow. Then the teams will break for a couple of days and move over to Guelph. Monday night a big banquet, then Tuesday night the All-Star game between the M's and the Leyden Division. Take Wednesday night off, and Thursday it's back to league action. There you see the games coming up in Windsor, Brantford, Cornwall, and Guelph next Thursday night, and Friday night rounding out the week, Kitchener, Ottawa, London, Kingston, and Guelph hosting games in the OHL. Get out and support them. Get out and see them. 4-1 win for the Ottawa 67's. I think they're a pretty good-looking hockey team, and I think they might catch somebody by surprise because people, I think, have paid an awful lot of attention, as we said earlier, to a couple of teams, Kitchener and Toronto, for the most part, and Ottawa at one point was a great number of points back of the Toronto Marlies, and now they've closed the gap to a couple. Are they the kind of team, to you, do they look like the kind of team that can challenge to win the league and the Memorial Cup?
I think it's going to be very interesting, Jim, trying to get that out of Brian Kilray before the game, and he doesn't want to talk about it. He's talking about teams like Peterborough, and that's just the way that Brian is. He gives a lot of credit to other teams in the league, and well, he should, because this is a very balanced league. I think one thing that they do have is the fact that they've got some good goaltending. I like the way that Pang played today, and apparently the other goaltender that they've got is just as good, and they've been alternating back and forth. Cassidy and Shaw, when you've got two quarterbacks like that back in the blue line, that can get you a long way, especially if they're capable of playing 40 to 45 minutes, which they must have come pretty close to this afternoon. Adam Creighton up front, that type of big, strong, tall centerman, he can lead you out there. I don't think he had an exceptionally good game today, but he sure shows that he's got all the capabilities.
Well, he plays on a pretty good line, and he's got Don McLellan on one side, and he's got Gary Roberts on the other. And Roberts scored a couple of goals today, including the one that really put it away, I thought, in the third period, and we're going to have a chance to have a look at that, Gary Roberts' second goal.
Well, Roberts and McLellan especially this afternoon, you know, a couple of good passes by McLellan, and all of a sudden you've got a close hockey game that was brought not so close. This one right here, that pass by McLellan. Once again, Roberts finds that opening. You know, I think another thing that Ottawa has got right now, Jim, is the fact that they can protect the lead, and they showed that well out here in the third period. And if you're going to win a championship, if you're going to go to the Memorial Cup, when you can get a lead, then you've got to be able to hang on tightly to it. Not just by laying back and playing kitty bar the door style of hockey, but by actually forechecking and have the discipline to get back and also back check, and they showed that they could do that well this afternoon.
Well, it helps when you've got a pretty good goaltender behind you, and Darren Pang was just that today, and he is standing by with Mike Anscombe.
Indeed he is, Jim, after playing an absolutely superb game this afternoon and being chosen the third star of the game. Darren, this must be particularly gratifying for you because you started your junior career right here in Belleville with the Bulls a couple of years ago.
I'd have to say, anytime you come back to your arena that was, you know, at once your own home fans, it's thrilling and it's very exciting, and I think every time I come back here, it's a big thrill for me.
The most publicized junior goaltender in Ontario these days is Alan Bester because, of course, his great performances of late with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Alan Bester is not a big guy. For years and years and years, scouts said you had to be 6 feet and 180 pounds. Do you feel that that may be changing because of young men like Bester?
I think so. You know, Al's, he's proven that a little goalie can do it, and he performed well up in the NHL, and I think he's given guys like myself an opening, and I hope it goes my way.
I could never understand why there was this preoccupation with size when the bottom line is stopping the puck.
Yeah, I think so. I can't understand it myself. You get a big guy who's, you know, big guys, but no matter how you look at it, though, a little goalie is going to be known as a good little goalie, and there's no way you're going to change that, but I think the bottom line, like you said, is stopping the puck.
Do you have to work on the high shots because that's where they're going to go, isn't it, upstairs?
Yeah, I think they try going upstairs. I try to give them a little more upstairs because I like working my glove a lot, and if I can get them upstairs, then they'll hesitate to shoot next time, and then I make them shoot low and I'll go down, and I try to mix it up.
Who are some of the offensive stars around the league that give you some trouble?
There's a lot of good players, a lot of offensive hockey players in the league, and Dave Gans is one of them, and well, we have a lot of offense players in our team, but can't
they don't bother you except in practice.
Yeah, that's true, and there's so many, it's just hard to name them all off.
Well, you have 3 sensational defensemen working ahead of you, and I have to obviously assume that it makes your job just a little bit easier.
Just a little bit, yeah, I'd say so. Our defense has got to be the best in the league, and we've got offensive defensemen, we've got defensive defensemen, a good combination. We can move the puck out of our own end well, and we can even score goals, our defensemen. Do
you sometimes wish they'd stay at home a little bit more?
No, I think well, I guess there's times when maybe we take the chance, but you always have to take a chance. Everybody will do so, and actually it makes the game a little more exciting, I think.
I think, too, the communication must be important back there.
Yeah, that's one thing we try to stress is moving the puck and always talking, and I try to talk as much as I can and move the puck as much as I can behind the net without getting in trouble.
You've done a great job talking here in the post-game. Thank you very much, Darren.
Thank you very much.
All right, Darren Pang, the 3rd star of the game with an outstanding performance in the Ottawa goal. The 67's, of course, beating the Belleville Bulls by a score of 4-1. And we'll be back with more post-game activity right after this.
The Ottawa 67's defeated the Belleville Bulls 4-1 today at the Quinn Sports Center in Belleville. Belleville probably is going to be right in the thick of a playoff battle with the Cornwall Royals, maybe the Kingston Canadians until the end of the season. They're not far behind Oshawa either, but I wonder, Gary, in a junior hockey team, how much can one good player mean? And what I'm thinking of is that Ally Frady, if he joins this team as he's supposed to in Belleville from the American Olympic team, how much difference can one man make on a team?
He can make a tremendous difference. Mind you, he's going to have to kind of get adjusted to this team as well. One man that could make a tremendous amount of difference to this Belleville team right now is Dan Quinn. I was in Edmonton last night and got an opportunity once again to see Dan Quinn. He played really well there along with Lanny McDonald. He could make a big difference to this Belleville team. They lacked some offense today. He could have given it to them.
Well, they can forget about him because he's playing so well in Calgary. Let's have a look at the standings in the Ontario Hockey League after today's games. And first in the M's division, Kitchener. Right out on top, Sault Ste. Marie. We'll see them next week against Oshawa, then Brantford following London, North Bay, Windsor, Guelph, and Sudbury. And the 2 teams in that M's division will miss the playoffs. Tomorrow, Kitchener will play host to Ottawa in what could be the big game of the day. Let's take a look at the Leyden division. Toronto out in front of Ottawa. Then Peterborough, Oshawa, Belleville, and Cornwall hanging onto the final playoff spot. Kingston out of the playoffs right now. Final score today was Ottawa 4 and Belleville 1. And we'll look forward to next week in Oshawa. And right now, let's go downstairs and find out what Brian Kilray has to say about his team today with Mike Anscombe.
All right, Jim. This is Don Cherry's second favorite coach. I don't think we have to mention who his #1 guy is. Brian, The club played well this afternoon in an arena that gives opposing teams a lot of difficulty.
It's a tough rink because it's so big, and they know it so well, you know, and they use the boards well. And I think today, Darren Pang probably made the difference. He made so many good saves early when we could have been behind by 2 or 3 goals, and I think that was the secret to winning. He kept us in the game, and then a couple of our shooters got goals.
I, like so many other people in hockey, wonder how Brian Kilray keeps doing it year after year after year. This is your 10th season with the Ottawa 67's. Someone pointed out to me that the lowest the 67's have finished in that 10 years is 4th place. It seems the club never has a rebuilding year.
Oh, we've had some rebuilding years, but we've been lucky in the draft, and sometimes a trade or a free agent. Sometimes people come back into Ottawa from, you know, other areas. But I think a big part really is the draft. We've been fortunate where some of the other teams have lost their underage players. Ours have stayed because we're drafting a little bit later. We're not getting the real star like a Danny Quinn or, you know, or a LaFontaine that's early. And our drafts are allowed to stay for the 2 or 3 years while we're playing our league.
And you put a premium on character, I know, as well.
Well, I think they have to fit into the mold of the team. I just don't think that you can bring somebody in that isn't what you really want. You want to have a team man, but I mean, everybody does. And I just think that we've been fortunate and lucky in that area where the fellas have come in, they've blended in with everybody else and done a good job.
And you've got a big one tomorrow in Kitchener.
I'm looking forward to it, but I know that Kitchener, I know they have a good hockey club, and Tom Barrett's done a great job, and I know it's going to be a good game because we played well there. We've had some good games against them in our rink, too.
You've done a great job. Brian Kilray, congratulations on this afternoon's 4-1 victory in what has been a brilliant 10-year career.
Oh, thanks very much, Mike.
Okay, Brian Kilray. The Ottawa 67's winning this afternoon by a score of 4-1 over Belleville. Next week, we will be in Oshawa to bring you the action between the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the Oshawa Generals. Broadcast time is 2 o'clock.
Arnold breaks away, but Kimberly still